Hello everyone. This is your friend from Naruto Audio Fanfics, and we are back once again with a brand new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto Uzumaki lost everything and chose a dark path, only to seek redemption with Kurenai Yuhi, Naruto times Kurenai times Temari, Part 2. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit the like button, thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing Naruto fanfics like this. So without wasting any more time, let's start today's fanfic. It took Naruto about a week to get his new cloths as well as the supplies for his books to be written. It did not take him long to write the stories since he has wrote them before after Jiraiya was killed and they were based off of his life, so he already had them at a publisher waiting for them to be released and then paid for them. He went back to the Hokage to find out if he needed to go to the academy and was told no, that his skills were best spent elsewhere. Kurenai had gotten her weight seal and was slowly getting adjusted to it, and Naruto was pushing himself hard in the forest of death. Between Kajibushin, chakra control as well as physical training every day, he was exhausted and usually only saw Anko as he passed where she was eating near the forest of death. Naruto had also put on a couple of storage seals as well as the Genesis of Rebirth seal on his body. It was during this training that Naruto had a surprise visitor. Tora, the Fire Lord's cat, ran into the forest of death and had set down on the passed out Naruto, who was laying in the forest of death. Just then a figure laned nearby and saw her target, Tora. She giggled to herself at the sight of Naruto sprawled out and walked over to him and Tora and caught Tora before she sat down and looked at him and saw the locket hanging out from under his shirt, and she reached over and tried to open it and noticed it had seals on it, so she tried to channel chakra to it and it clicked as it opened, and she looked at the picture inside and she smiled at how his family look. She then closed it, and when it clicked Naruto eyes widened and he looked at her and his eyes were hard for a moment before they softened and he said, "Hello Kurenai." Kurenai saw the look in his eyes and felt guilty and said, "Sorry, it's just." Naruto put his finger to her lips and said, "Shish. I understand. You were curious about them, so I don't mind, but please ask next time." Kurenai nods and Naruto pulled his fingers away and set up wincing and mutters, "Stupid fox, can't he force my healing anymore?" Kurenai asked, "What's wrong?" Naruto said, "When I fell off the tree I was running on my back a few ribs on a tree branch on the way down, so it's taking me a while to heal from it." Kurenai sweat dropped and shook her head and said, "Only you would consider broken ribs something like a sprained ankle. So how are you doing?" Naruto was quite a moment and said, "Fine, why?" Kurenai looked at him and said, "From what I can tell of your memories it's only been 3 months," as she saw him stiffen and look down. Naruto sighed and said, "Yeah. I don't know what to feel right now." Kurenai said, "I am here for you if you want to talk about it." Naruto leaned back and looked at the sky and asked, "Have you ever lost someone you thought was the entire world?" Kurenai said, "Yes, my mother." Naruto shook his head and said, "You never told me anything about her, so I will take your word. To me, it's like some weird dream right now. I know that she's dead, but she's also alive. Even though you and her are different, you're also the same, so it's like a twin sister or something." Kurenai listened to him as he tried to talk about it and said, "I know this might not be the right thing to say, but maybe you should. I don't know. Find a way to finally mourn them. I don't mean like Kakashi, but maybe some way to actually say goodbye. I know from the memories of the other timeline you never did, and you became so obsessed with trying to ignore the fact it helped to break you." Naruto thought about what she said and sighed, closing his eyes and said, "I don't know if I can, but I will try." "Thank you." Kurenai smiled and said, "No problem. I got to get Tora here back to her master so I can train." CYA. As she stood up, Naruto looked at her and said, "Your mother, what was she like?" Kurenai stopped and said, "She was a ninja, like me. She never married and she died on a mission." Naruto nods and asked, "What about your father?" "My wife never would tell me about her mother and father for some reason, and I thought it was because she did not want to remember the past and worked for our future." Kurenai closed her eyes and said, "My father was an assassination mission. My mother had to seduce her way into his life and the other 3 men who were her targets so she could kill them. I was an accident." Naruto, ignoring the pain, had walked over to her and using his advance henge put his arms around her from behind while resting his head on her shoulder and said, "I am sorry, I did not mean to bring up painful memories." Kurenai leaned her head back against his shoulder with her eyes still closed and said, "It's all right. I came to terms with it a long time ago. I know it's a risk in the life of a ninja when we take missions like that, and for me I am actually glad it did happen or I would not have been born." Naruto said, "Listen, how about I take you out to eat dinner, to get to know each other better? I mean, we both know a lot of things about each other, but we don't know anything at all really about each other." Kurenai thought a moment and asked, "Ramen?" Naruto chuckled and said, "No, any place you want." Kurenai pulled away from his arms and looked at him and asked, "How can you get in them?" Naruto smiled and gave her a look that all those who knew he was a trickster at heart would recognize, and he said, "Have I showed you my sexy no jutsu?" Kurenai had a flashback of the Hokage office incident and covered her nose, and Naruto smirked as he stepped back, putting his hands in a seal and said, "Reverse sexy no jutsu." And he was covered in smoke, and as the smoke cleared, there standing in his place was a 13-year-old Naruto with brown hair, green eyes, and his clothes were a pair of blue jeans and a white t-shirt with flames across the bottom of it, and he asked, "Well, how do I look?" Kurenai looked at him and raised an eyebrow and said, "There's no chakra give off." Naruto smiled and said, "When I accidentally created this jutsu, I had no idea the true effects this thing does. When I first showed it to Tsunade, she thought it had to be something to do with the fox, but when Konohamaru did the same jutsu and he had the same effects, she realized what I had actually created, or should I say recreate." Kurenai asked, "What is it?" Getting curious. Naruto said, "This jutsu, because of the unique way I mold my chakra when I do this jutsu, does not put a henge over my body but actually converts every cell in my body to that of what I henge into. I don't know if it was information I got from the fox thanks to the seal or what. By what I did was actually recreate the demon's legendary shapeshifting ability that made the Kyuubi a notorious trickster." Kurenai processed the information and said, "So that means right now you actually look like that?" Naruto nods and said, "Yes, but I only can keep this up for a little while right now, maybe an hour at most before I have to drop it. So how about you pick where to eat and we both can meet Aegean, say 5 o'clock. Kurenai looked up at the sun and said, "All right, but it's just dinner and that does not mean a date. No flowers, gifts, or anything like that. I am just having dinner so we can talk. Deal." Naruto smiled and said, "Deal." Kurenai said, "Meet me at the Treehuggers restaurant." Naruto smiled and giggles a moment, and Kurenai raised an eyebrow and asked, "What?" Naruto shook his head and said, "Oh, I just had a thought of something that was funny. I will meet you there at 5. As he started to walk away. Kurenai said, "Wait, what was that giggle about?" Naruto said, "I will tell you in a few years. It's something that will make sense then, but not now, and it has nothing to do with my wife and I. It's just an event I remembered when you mentioned the name of that restaurant, but until that event happens it won't make sense." CYA. Kurenai watched him leave and then heard Tora meow, and she looked at the cat, forgetting she even had the damn thing inside before heading back to the Hokage office. On her way back she kept trying to figure out what it was and realized something. When she got to the office and gave the cat to its owner, she waited until everyone left the room and walked to the Hokage and said, "Hokage-sama, I just realized something I think you should know." The Hokage looked at her and asked, "What is it, Kurenai?" Kurenai said, "I was talking with Naruto when I caught Tora and he said he remembered something about a place, and I tried to get the information from the memories I have but realized that I don't have anything on the place we talked about. I believe we don't have his complete memories." The third sighed and said, "So I was right. I noticed it that day he was talking about seals. The second seal he gave Kakashi that you turned down. I tried to get info from the memory on it but could not. I figure it must mean that you got say 90% of his memories and I probably only got 80. I figure that it's like normal memories, you don't get every detail, just a generalized amount of it. My percentages could also be way off. It could be 50% or less. No way of actually telling, so we will have to do the best we can with the info we have. So what are you and Naruto doing together? I told you to stay away from him as much as possible." Kurenai looked at the Hokage and said, "Tora found him and I just asked how he was doing and tried to help him over his grief. We decided to have dinner under a henge later today. Nothing else. Why don't you want me and him spending time together?" The third looked at her and said, 5 reasons. One is in 5 months Naruto will disappear for around 4 years and he won't be around to have a relationship with you. 2. As you said, he needs time to grieve and you are a constant reminder for now. 3. He is 7 years old and you are 12. If you both try to force a relationship now, it will destroy you, since the most you can do is maybe a kiss or a hug, and your brain will tell you things you want but your body's not ready. 4. Naruto is going to make a lot of enemies with what I got planned real quick. In fact, he will basically be starting a one-man war against everyone. 5. The council is going to want to know why Naruto will be what he is and try to force him into a situation that will get him killed. They would use you against him, so for now all you can do is train for the next 5 months and then say goodbye for the 4 years. Kurenai looked down and asked, does he know yet? The third said, no, I don't want him to know what I got planned until it's time, so he won't half train when he gets strong enough. Kurenai said, I understand. As she turned and left. The third thought to himself, I am sorry, but for you and him it has to be done. It's the only way his price will be paid. As he looked at the picture of the Yondaime. Dinner for Naruto and Kurenai that evening was a quite affair. Naruto asked her what was wrong, but she said that the Hokage told her some stuff for a mission she had coming up he wanted her to do, so she was thinking about it. Naruto accepted the answer, though he could tell she was lying. Over the next few months, Naruto books started to sell and he was able to buy the land where he wanted his house to be and started building it. Kurenai had started to avoid him and he asked Anko, Kakashi and the Hokage what was wrong, since she was always away, and they told him that she was training to get ready for the Chunin exams in Suna. Naruto sighed since he knew there was more to it but could not get the answer. Time skip. Finally the 5 months were done. Naruto had finished most of his house. The outside of it was done and part of the inside was enough to make it where he could live there but not homely. His training had done wonders for him. He was not tall by any means of the word, at only 4 feet 5, and he weighed around 140 pounds, but that was all muscle. He had worked every ounce of baby fat off of his body, and it was a guess as to how strong he actually was. Some would say high chunin while others would think low junin. Truth is, no one knew because they never saw him go all out. Today Naruto walked into the Hokage office and he saw the Hokage, who said, right on time, Naruto. It's time for you to find out what I wanted you to get stronger for. Naruto nods for him to continue and the third said, in 3 weeks the Chunin exams will begin in Suna. I want you to compete in them. Naruto was wide-eyed and said, but I don't have a team. The Hokage smiled and said, I know. You don't need one. Naruto raised an eyebrow and asked, what's going on? The Hokage said, you will not be representing Konoha in the exams, Naruto. Remember, I gave you your mother's forehead protector. You are by birth a ninja of both the Hidden Leaf and Whirlpool, but since your mother had all Whirlpool ninja to go into hiding, they are scattered. I want you to go as a Whirlpool ninja using your full name and show everyone what you are made of. Since you won't be a ninja of Konoha for this, the council can't ban you from using your father's name. Be warned though, by doing this you will be putting a bullseye on your head, because not only will there be leaf, sand, mist, and rain ninja there, but also Iwa and Cloud, which means that the last two will want your head the moment they hear your name. Naruto nods and asked, so what exactly will this accomplish besides trying to get me killed? As he sat down. The Hokage said, simple, since your spy network is up enough to support you for now, I want you to start searching for any threats to Konoha and report them back to me, as well as trying to find Whirlpool ninja. Even if they are missing nins, you can still find out if they are from there. You will not be returning to the Leaf Village for a total of 4 years. Naruto was listening and he knew the Hokage was thinking ahead, but when it got to the end he got up and said, 4 years. What the hell do you want me to do for 4 years? I mean, it won't take that long to go through the elemental countries and find people. The third sighed and reached into a drawer and grabbed an item and tossed it to Naruto, who caught it and said, you got to be shitting me. As he looked at an ABNU mask as well as a scroll connected to it. The third said, your codename is Maelstrom. You are designated as ABNU captain and will only be outranked by Kakashi, Anko, Jiraiya or myself. I don't want you to wear it unless I send a message to you telling you to meet a team somewhere to do a mission. You are not to reveal who you are to any of them, and anyone who travels with you as a Whirlpool ninja must not join you for the missions. Naruto asked, how are you going to send messages to me? A voice from the window said, that's where I come in, Gaki. Making Naruto look at Jiraiya, who walked over to him and looked at Naruto. Naruto asked, What's going on, Arozanin? Jiraiya facepalted and soon got back up and said, simple, you are going to resign the Toad contract. Gambunta already said you're accepted and said you still owe him a drink. Naruto asked, how the hell does he remember that? Jiraiya chuckled and said, I asked the same thing. Apparently someone's timeline differ than ours. He said as soon as you resign the contract to make it official you become the Toad Summoner Aegean since you already passed his test once as well as earned his respect. Going back in time does not affect them so they remember everything. All summons do so Manda will know you if you ever faced him. Naruto said, yeah but Sasuke killed him. Jiraiya said, then Orochimaru doesn't have Manda no more. Wonder if he knows yet. He then went through some hand signs and summoned a toad that had the contract and Naruto signed it and the toad bowed to Naruto before leaving. Naruto asked, so what else are you here for besides getting me to sign the contract? Jiraiya looked at the third who nods and Jiraiya said, I will be staying in Konoha to make sure our plans for the Uchiha massacre go like we want. Naruto said, so you're going to kill Itachi? The third said, no. Itachi will not even be here in the village when it's supposed to happen. He will be with you in Suna as Kurenai team sensei since I need hers somewhere else. Jiraiya will be here making sure no one else does kill them while you're away. We think if he's not here for it to happen then it won't happen and then maybe we can keep them alive. Naruto thought a moment and said, okay, but that still does not explain how I get by without a team. The third said, Suna does not require teams. You can go individually though most villages send teams. Naruto thought and realized something and said, you told Kurenai about this already. Didn't you? That's why she's been avoiding me for the last few months. The third nods and Naruto sighed and said, I understand. I may not like it but I understand. It's for her protection. So what is the plan for the ninja of Whirlpool? The third said, simple, I want you to find out how many are out there. I don't want them to settle down in one spot but keep hidden like they were. Find out if any of the official Junin or higher ninja of Whirlpool are still around. If they are send word to Jiraiya and he will escort them to me. I want to reunite Whirlpool's people if there are still enough of them around as allies of Konoha. Naruto tensed and looked at the Hokage and said, you do know that is going to be hard getting anyone who is hidden like they are to do it. Especially since it's been over 10 years. The third nods and said, if I can't get enough people to start Whirlpool then I can offer them a place here. Naruto thought a moment and asked, why are you wanting them really? I know and you know most have settled down and probably want to join Konoha and the council would have a field day with this causing all kinds of hell for you. The third nods and said, I see there is no keeping it from you. I want you to find 3 people but the truth is I don't know anything about them but the fact they were Junin Whirlpool ninja. Naruto asked, so why not tell me about them instead of blowing smoke up my? The third sighed and said, because of the fact I did not want to upset you if they were dead and they most likely have changed their names to stay safe. Naruto narrowed his eyes and asked, why would I be upset? Jiraiya also was listening and the third said, because 2 of them would be your uncles and the last your aunt. Naruto was so wide-eyed he nearly lost his balance as he sat back down and asked, I have family. Jiraiya asked, why did you not tell me Kushina had 2 brothers and a sister? She never told me about any of them. The third said, simple. Kushina was the Rasenkage, her family was kept a secret from everyone since if word got out they would be hunted. She also did not tell because when she came to Konoha Iwa made an attempt on her life. She may not have done as much damage as Minato did against them but she sure as hell made a name against them. She was known as the Red Tide for her ability to make water run with blood. It is why she never told anyone except for Minato who told me since she did not want to be forced to leave if it came out. Naruto asked, so why is it I never knew I had any family? The third said, Kushina and her family had a fight, they did not agree with her reason to have the people run and hide. They chose to stay and fight and believed they died however I heard rumors around the time you were 3 that an Uzumaki met the Fire Lord on a journey from here to the capital and that she was looking for someone. That's all the information I have on her. Naruto asked, so what is it you want from them? I know it's not just for me you are trying to get them so what are you after? The third said, the Uzumaki have a scroll in my possession that belonged to your mother. I don't even trust it enough to have it here in the tower. It's in my estate. It can only be opened when 2 or more blood relations of the Uzumaki family are together to open it. Inside of it is something that your mother said you would need to unlock your bloodline. What it is I don't know. Naruto said, but my healing bloodline is already active. The third said, no. It's the bloodline the Nadaime had. The ability to bring water out of the air itself. Naruto tensed and said, so does that mean I am related to Tsunade? The third sighed and said, yes and no. Jiraiya, who was listening, asked, how can it be both? The third said, the Shadaime and the Nadaime had the same father but different mothers. The Nadaime's mother was an Uzumaki. Naruto is a distant cousin and is related to Tsunade but by marriage and birth, but it's so distant it's not legal. Naruto thought a moment and said, so I need to find my relatives to awaken my bloodline. This is interesting. So what am I supposed to do between now and the time of the exams? The third said, you are to leave the village and get ready. Do not head directly to Suna. Show this scroll to them as I have already gotten approval from the cage for you to participate. Make everyone see how strong you are, Naruto, so they will spread word that you are who you are, as well as hopefully flush your relatives out. With the thousands who will be at the finals, even the council can't shut that many people up, and I will make sure word spreads to the people of Konoha who you really are, discreetly of course. Naruto nods and said, fine, do I have any missions for now? The third said, no. I won't contact you for about a month or 2 because I want you to also keep training and appear to be an ABNU. Naruto thought and got a smile on his face and said, so you want me to impress the hell out of people at the exams, huh? I think I know exactly what I need. I will be heading out in the morning then. The third nods and said, good luck, Naruto. I hope things work like I got planned. Naruto said, so do I, old man, so do I, as he left. Jiraiya looked at the Hokage and said, is he strong enough? I did not sense much chakra from him. The Hokage said, him and Kakashi fought a little over a month ago and Kakashi has him at Junin level. He has a wide arsenal and his speed is crazy. Not guy crazy but getting there. His strength is not as good as I would like it, but with his reflexes and speed it makes up for that shortcoming. He made Kakashi pass out from chakra exhaustion because instead of trying to beat each other they had a counter contest to try and cancel out the other's jutsu. Kakashi counted 217 jutsu in a row without stopping between them. Jiraiya whistled and said, he might be strong enough then. As he left to do research. Naruto went to his home and unsealed the scroll he got and found a chakra tattoo that was a red Konoha leaf with black flames behind it showing he was a caption in ABNU. Regular ABNU are all black with no red. He put it on his arm and then unsealed the uniform and after adjusting it put his mask on, leaving for his next destination. He soon walked into the Yamenko flower shop and Inoichi asked, how can I help you today, ABNU-san? Naruto in his uniform said, I need some flowers. Inoichi said, you came to the right place, so what are you needing? Roses. Naruto said, white lilies. Inoichi nods and said, I can get them. I don't usually get many ABNU in here in their uniforms and I never seen you around before. Are you new? Naruto said, in a sense. Inoichi asked, so are these for a girlfriend? Naruto said, perhaps someday, but she's a friend who's going to the Chunin exams in Suna and I wanted to wish her luck since I have to leave soon myself for elsewhere. Inoichi asked, if you don't mind me asking. Who are you? The only ABNU I know around your height is Itachi and he's about 7 inches taller than you are. Naruto said, a ghost of the past that should have died a long time ago. My height is actually a unique henge technique I have learned that makes people underestimate me. In truth, I am around your height. It really surprises my enemies. Inoichi said, I can imagine, so why do you wear a henge now? Naruto said, I use it so no one would know who I am since ABNU are supposed to keep their true identity a secret. Inoichi finishes the flowers and said, I see. Well, here are your flowers. That will be $15. Naruto paid and said, good luck, sir, and I hope your daughter Ino becomes a proud ninja and not some rabid fangirl. Inoichi looked at Naruto and asked, how do you know Ino ABNU? Naruto said, who don't know the next generation of the famous Inoshikacho? Inoichi said, fame's not everything. Naruto said, Neither is beauty. As he walked out the door. 30 minutes later, Naruto was in a tree over training ground 3 looking at the team sparring while in his ABNU uniform, and a voice said, "You know it's not nice to spy on people." Naruto looked down and saw Genma standing there with a Senbon needle in his mouth, and Naruto said, "I know, I just came by to drop off something before I left the village." Genma looked at the Anbu above him and asked, "So what is it you need to drop off?" Naruto held out a scroll and dropped it, and Genma who caught it, and Naruto said, "For Kurenai. Sorry for interrupting your team training, but I won't be seeing anyone from Konoha for 4 years most likely, and wanted to wish her luck in the exams before I left in the morning." Genma asked, "How did you know they were going to be in the exams?" Naruto said, "Hokage-sama informed me when he told me about my mission since she watches my place while I am away." Genma nods and asked, "So who are you, ABNU?" Naruto said, "Maelstrom. My codename is Maelstrom." As he jumped away, Genma shook his head and walked over and said, "That's all for today, you 3. Kurenai and her 2 teammates Hagane Katetsu Chunin from the exams, who has the tape across his nose, and Ebus looked at Thier Sensei, and Kurenai said, "But we only practiced for a half a day, Sensei, why stop early?" Genma said, "Simple, you had a visitor who dropped this off for you." As he held up a scroll. Her 2 teammates looked at her, and Ebus asked, "Does our little Kurenai have a new friend?" Kurenai said, "I don't know, who was it, Sensei?" Genma said, "Some ABNU named Maelstrom." Kurenai tensed at this, and Genma continued, "He said he came by to drop this off for you since he was leaving soon and won't be back for 4 years, and that you watch his place for him." Kurenai took the scroll and said, "Thank you, Sensei. I just was not expecting him to stop by, and I am sorry he interrupted our practice." Genma said, "Relax, Kurenai. You have grown so much in the last few months, it's alright for a distraction every once in a while. If not, you will break yourself." Kurenai asked, "Did he say when he was leaving, Sensei?" Genma said, "In the morning, but the way he sounded, it might be late tonight." "You can never tell with ABNU." Kurenai nods, and Katetsu said, "So is he your boyfriend, Kurenai?" Kurenai said, "No, just a friend that Anko and Kakashi introduced me to." Genma said, "Must be some friend for those 2 to be involved." Ebus said, "He's probably some weak punk who trying to impress Kurenai here. Trying to act all big and mighty." Kurenai giggled, and everyone looked at her, and Genma asked, "What's so funny, Kurenai?" Kurenai said, "From what I heard, him and Kakashi had a spar last month. Remember training ground 21 that they are still trying to repair? That was them." Everyone was wide-eyed, and Genma whistled and said, "That's some heavy shit they used." The entire village felt those 2 battling, but nobody could get on the training ground to see who was there because of some weird force field. I checked the field out a few days later, and the lake that was there is now nearly dry, and the trees and ground are completely destroyed. It looked like an entire war was fought there, and when Hayate asked Kakashi about it, Kakashi said it was all just a simple game to see who could outmatch the other in jutsu. I don't know who won, but Kakashi said the guy he tested was good. Kurenai said, "He is. Well, if that's all for the day, I need to get cleaned up and see if I can catch him before he leaves." As she left in a swirl of leaves, shocking her teammates. Ebus asked, "When and why did you teach her Shushin?" Genma shook his head and said, "I didn't. Hell, half the stuff she knows now I don't even know. Well, I got things to do, so see you all tomorrow." As she left in a swirl of leaves. Ebus looked at Katetsu and said, "I think we should follow her." Katetsu said, "You just want to check out the competition." Ebus said, "No, I am not. I am a gentleman, and it is my duty to make sure my teammate is safe." Katetsu said, "And in your own words from the academy, that she happens to be the hottest piece of in the village has nothing to do with it." As he looked at Ebus with a knowing look. Ebus pushed up his sunglasses and said, "I don't know what you're talking about." "So are you coming?" Katetsu said, "Nope, I rather not get involved and have her pissed off at me." Ebus said, "Some teammate you are." As he leaves, heading toward Kurenai apartment. Kurenai appeared in her apartment and sat down, opening the scroll she received, and saw 2 seals. She recognized them as standard seals since Naruto memory used them a lot, so she just channeled a little chakra into both and was surprised when a dozen white lilies popped out of one and a letter in the other. She opened the letter and read, "Dear Kurenai, I know now why you have been avoiding me. The old man just told me that he told you he was planning for me to become the most wanted man in the world. Kurenai thought. He did not tell me that. He said you were going to get a lot of enemies. Well, with what he's got me going to do, it will definitely work. I will be seeing you in Suna, but I will not be a Konoha. I will be representing Whirlpool in the Chunin exams. Yeah, I know. Whirlpool's been destroyed, but the reason is he wants me over the next 4 years to try and track down some Whirlpool ninja. 3 of them to be specific. Turns out that I have family still out there. 2 uncles and an aunt. It also turns out I have another bloodline besides my healing, and I am distantly related to someone famous in Konoha, the Nadaime Hokage. The Nadaime? How the hell is he related to the Nadaime? Is he related to Tsunade then, and if so, does she know? Why the hell did the Hokage not tell him sooner, and what the hell is he doing competing in the exams? Doesn't he need to be with the Rookie 9? Now, as for what this whole ABNU thing is. I am now an ABNU caption. Don't ask me what the hell he's thinking on that, because I sure as hell don't know. I got to do some missions with other ABNU during my 4 years away. I finished the outside of my house in the woods, if you know where it is. I hope you do, since it was where my wife and I always wanted the place to be, and I hope you saw it in the other timeline. I want you to know I am not mad about you avoiding me, and if you feel it was for the best, then I will honor your decision. I have to leave in the morning, so I wanted to say, in case I can't in Suna, good luck on your exams, and I won't use anything deadly on you or your teammates, but we will be opponents, so if we are forced to face each other, we will fight. Watch your back though from your new sensei. The old man is doing something stupid and I am afraid for your safety. Please be careful. P.S. I took your advice and found a way to grieve for my wife and son. I took a page out of Kakashi book and made a memorial for them near my home. It may not be the best way, but at least I have a place now to go and say goodbye. It's a start. Goodbye and good luck. Well, I don't know. I hope we're at least friends, but I am unsure if you want to be. I mean, a lot of things have happened in the last few months, and you basically went from not even knowing me to knowing me better than anyone in the village, and the situation forced us together. Anyway, goodbye. Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Maelstrom. Kurenai read it again and smiled and thought, you goofy lug. Of course we're friends. As she got up and took a quick shower before getting dressed in clean cloths and leaving out her front door. As she was walking, she could not help but feel she was being followed. After 20 minutes, she knew she was being followed but could not tell where the person was. She soon saw the forest of death and got an idea. Hopping up and over the wall, she ran in for about a quarter of a mile and cast a genjutsu over herself to hide and wait. Ebus, who had been following her, saw her go into the forest of death and thought, what the hell is she doing? That area is restricted. As he waited a moment and followed her. He was walking through the forest when a thick mist covered the area and a voice said, welcome to my parlor, SSS, said the SSS spider to the fly. Kurenai, who was hiding, seen the thick mist come into the area and heard the voice and thought, what the hell? Ebus was scared and he had a kuni out and said, I am not afraid. Come out and show yourself. Suddenly a snake 3 times bigger than him shot out of the ground in front of him, and it said, afraid, you fear, all right. I sense much fear in you. Leave now or I will SSS skin you alive and devour your organ, SSSSS. Ebus said, I am not leaving without my teammate. The snake said, you lie. You came here SSSSO, you could SS spy on, in your own words, SSS, the hottest piece of in the village. Kurenai, who was listening, trying to figure out what the hell was going on when she heard this, narrowed her eyes and waited to see what happened. She knew Ebus was a pervert, but she never knew he would be after her. Ebus paled and asked, how do you know that? The snake smiled and said, I have my ways, SSSS. If you wish to live, you will tell me exactly what you want to do with the mistress. Ebus looked around and started to back away when he saw the snake wrap his leg up in its tail, stopping him, and he was getting really scared, and the snake said, I am waiting for your answer. Tell me or I will eat you. Ebus paled and took one last look and said, fine, you're right, she is hot and I want to be the one to first take her. The snake narrowed its eyes and said, then what? Ebus said, then who cares? It's not like I care for her, beside being my teammate. She's just a nice piece of. The snake looked at him and said, have you SSSS spied on her? I will know if you lie. Kurenai, who was watching this scene, was ready to kill him when she felt a chakra signature in a tree limb across from her. She looked and smiled to herself under her genjutsu as she saw Anko sitting there looking at Ebus with disgust. She then realized this was definitely one of Anko's summons. She decided to wait to hear this answer before killing the pervert. Ebus smirked and said, "Yeah, every time our team goes to the hot springs together, I know where this hole in the fence is where you can watch all the ladies, and I've seen her." As a bit of blood and drool escaped from his nose and mouth respectively, and that was the final straw for the ladies. However, something nobody expected happened. A girl with black hair and pale skin walked out of the woods in a dress and said, "So you like to spy on women, huh? Would you like to spy on me while I undress?" As she walked over to Ebus slowly and seductively. Kurenai and Anko both looked confused, not only by the fact that neither of them knew who this person was or how long she was there, but also how come neither one sensed her. Ebus was looking at the girl and said, "What you got in mind?" As a smile formed on his face, forgetting the snake, who was looking confused as well. The girl walked over and got to a few inches from Ebus' face and said, "Simple. I am a guy." As the now named guy kneed Ebus in the nuts before walking to the snake and said, "Tell your master she should have Ibiki interrogate him so the Hokage can get that hole fixed." The snake flicked its tongue out, tasting the air, and looked at Naruto and said, "You smell of toads. Are you the lost one from ahead?" The girl guy said, "Perhaps, but no, this is not my true look, and this is also not the place to speak of such things." The snake looked and nodded its head and said, "If you are he, then the lord of my clan wishes to thank you and your friends for removing the former lord. I must go now." And went up in a puff of smoke. Ebus, who was holding himself, looked at the person who nutchecked him and cried out, "Why?" The person turned and said, "Women are not merely a hole with hair, buddy. You call yourself a gentleman and are a closet pervert, but any respect as a man you had before is now lost, and if I was to face you in battle, I would castrate you for even thinking the way you do, especially someone like your teammate." As the person jumped up in a tree and put his hands in a ram seal while Ebus was looking at him and said, "Kia." As the genjutsu over Kurenai was dispelled, making Ebus go wide-eyed as he saw the look of disgust on his teammate's face. She turned to say something to the person who attacked Ebus, but all she saw was a puff of smoke. Anko looked at her friend and threw a kunia, making it land half an inch below Ebus' manhood, making him cry out and faint at the thought of the loss, and she jumped over to Kurenai and asked, "Are you all right?" Kurenai said, "No, but I will be. I can't believe Ebus would think that way, and he admits he openly spied on me. I should kill him." Anko said, "You can't do that. If you did, then you won't be able to hurt him later for it." With an evil grin. Kurenai sighed and said, "This really is turning into a shitty day. First I start my damn period, then my teammates decide on a pure Tiahutsu fight today, so as much as I hate the fact I am having to use every bit of my body to fight while wearing a damn tampon just so not to let them know I am basically bleeding to death. Then I get a surprise visit from the person I am avoiding, since the Hokage basically told me he wanted me to stay away so we don't try and each other brains out if we got closer, and then I find out my own teammate has not only been spying on me but wants to screw me for bragging rights. What the hell is could happen?" Anko said, "You could be knocked up and barefoot by Danzo." With a smile on her face as Kurenai facefaulted, and she said, "If I ever get that desperate, kill me and destroy my body." Anko laughed and said, "Deal. So who do you think, Mr. or Mrs. whoever was?" Kurenai said, "I already know. Who else but the idiot I am avoiding would use a woman body as a weakness against him?" Anko said, "So it was the Gaki. I thought so. So what are you doing in my little playground?" As they both jumped away from Ebus, who was still passed out from the scare. Kurenai, following Anko out of the forest, said, "I was on my way to see our friend when I noticed I was being followed and decided to lose him in here. It just was luck you were in the area to do the snake trick." Anko said, "Hokage-sama pays me to keep idiots out of here for their safety. The means to do it are my own to decide. I was also eating at the dango stand when your other teammate mentioned what shitstain down there was up to, so I decided to see what's up." With a smile as they made it over the wall. Anko asked, "So what are you going to do now?" Kurenai sighed and said, "I am going to see him." As she jumps off, leaving Anko, who was shaking her head, and thought, "You got it, bad girl, and don't even know it." Kurenai took 15 minutes to get to where Naruto home was and found that the genjutsu was up around the area and noticed he did things the same as before. She then walked through the entrance and frowned because it was not as beautiful as it was before. A few places had been set up to start the flowers and water fountains, but they were not like they were in the other timeline because it was nearly a year before it was when she first saw it. She also saw the minor touches to the house were missing as well as she walked toward the house. As she got there, she knocked and waited but did not see anyone, and she waited a few moments before knocking again. The door opened up and a toad was standing there in front of her, and Kurenai's sweat dropped and the toad said, "Oh, it's you. Naruto is upstairs packing. Please come in." Kurenai nods and the toad, who was about 4 feet tall, closed the door and went back to guarding the door, and Kurenai heard some noises coming from upstairs, so she took the stairs up to the second floor and saw Naruto sealing items in scrolls, and she said, "Hello." Naruto looked up and said, "Hello. How are you doing?" Kurenai said, "Oh, just peachy," sarcastically with a roll of her eyes. Naruto looked at her a moment and said, "My bathroom's second door over there, and supplies are in the medicine cabinet," as he went back to sealing. Kurenai looked at him and asked, "What are you talking about?" Naruto looked at her with a deadpan expression and said, "I am not explaining it to you. Get you in there and take care of what is bothering you, and don't come out until you do," in a forceful tone. Kurenai was taken back by this and asked, "Who the hell do you think you are talking to me like that?" Naruto said, "I am the guy who does not feel like getting by you when you visitor comes, so if you don't mind, I got not only some Midol but also other supplies plus a special medicine that Tsunade put you on to handle your urges during this time so you won't be distracted as you were earlier today. Besides, when it comes to everything in your life, you like to be in control except when it comes to feelings and urges, at which time you are submissive, so I am telling you to get your in there and take care of your problem," as he pointed toward the bathroom, still talking like he was her master. Kurenai for her part was stunned, but she also realized she was extremely turned on by this, so she did as she was told and went to the bathroom, and after closing the door she checked the cabinet and found female products as well as a bottle of medicine that had her name on it and instructions, and she looked at it and blinked and said, "Okay." She then took one as well as a Midol and then freshened up and came back out looking a little nervous. Naruto stopped and got up, walking over to her, and his eyes softened and he asked, "Did you take that medicine?" Kurenai only could nod, not sure what was going on. Naruto smiled and said, "Now would you like me to explain a few things about why I acted that way and why you were turned on and why I wanted you to take that medicine?" Kurenai nods again and Naruto said, "That pill I had you take is 3 medicines in one. Tsunade gave it to you after you told me about the problem you have while on your period. Basically, you get extremely excited over anything as well as you get emotionally wrecked over the littlest things. You remember when I giggled a few months ago when you mentioned the Treehugger restaurant? The reason is we were going to go and eat ramen one evening and it was right before we were married. You were on your monthly at the time and some guy made a remark about me trying to take advantage of you. You inserted your 3-inch high heel in the guy's after you broke his arm. Now after that you broke down and ran off crying, and I followed you and found you in the woods where I held you in the woods until you calmed down, basically hugging you under a tree. You then told me that you are always like that when it's that time, and you also told me how any guy who tried to have power over you at all during that time would turn you on so bad that you would basically be ready to submit to his whims. The only thing that saved you was you were either at home saying you were not feeling well or Anko kept you in check. Now you might wonder why, and it's basically you are a submissive lover. You want someone to take charge and lead you through things, and your body knows this and reacts accordingly. You told me how you had to stop yourself from not jumping the old man's bones once when he was reprimanding you for assaulting a pervert. Now getting back to that pill. It basically controls your emotions so you won't be so distraught when it's this time. Second, it will also make you slow down the amount of bodily fluids you lose during this time, and the third thing it does is make it where you only have a period every 3 months as well as a birth control. Now do you have any questions? As he stepped back. Kurenai was stunned listening to Naruto talk about her body telling her things she never knew about herself. She admits that she was turned on earlier when he took charge as well as feeling a little emotional, and the fact she was also going as a pretty hectic pace also surprised her. She then looked at him and asked, "How did you know?" Naruto said, "Simple. No matter how much of an idiot I am or whatever problem you are having, you never try to imitate Ino unless it's your time, at which time you are sarcastic and you roll your eyes while acting disgusted with the world. I could tell by the way you acted what was wrong, so I decided to solve the problem before it got out of hand. Kurenai asked. Why did you already have the medicine and stuff for me ahead of time? Naruto looked down a moment and said, remember my sexy no jutsu and the side effects I told you about? Tsunade told me that those pills would help me also if I ever had to go undercover as a woman for an extended period of time, so if I do, I take one while in that form so it don't make me sterile, and since I kind of impersonated you and got it when I went to the hospital, but I had the doctor be discreet about it. Since I don't know what the old man has planned, I had already prepared. Kurenai asked. If I am a submissive, what are you? Naruto said. Since almost nothing in my life is controllable when it comes to I am the dominate one, so it works out pretty well. Or it did for me and my wife. As he looked down. Kurenai sat down and said, so what have you been doing the last few months? Naruto said, training mostly. I am not as strong as I would like, but I should be strong enough for what's to come. Kurenai smiled and said, well, I do have one question. How did you know about what was happening in the forest today? Naruto smiled and said, I actually was there getting a little friend for me to use in the exams or in the next 4 years. Kurenai looked confused and Naruto said, don't worry. It's just a pet I found in the forest of death I will be using from time to time to help me, like Akamaru is for Kiba, but she's a little more deadly. Kurenai shook her head. When Naruto did not want to tell you something, he could be very cryptic. She got up and said, I wanted to tell you good luck and I hope you have a safe trip and to hurry back in case I don't get to see you Aegean for a while. As she started to leave. Naruto got up and walked over to the door, and as Kurenai reached for the doorknob, Naruto put his arm over her shoulder and pushed it against the door, keeping it closed. Kurenai tensed and was about to say something when Naruto said softly in her ear, listen for a moment. If you ever need me for anything, I don't care if I have to, I will drop whatever I am doing to come and help you. Keep this with you and throw it if you need me. As he held out a kunai from around her side so she could see it. Kurenai looked down and saw the kunai and took it before Naruto took his arms away and backed away. She looked at him and saw something in his eyes. What it was she was not sure, but she was sure it was something that was important. She nods and leaves, unable to think or say anything. Naruto saw her leave and said, you can come out now. She gone. A figure appeared and looked at Naruto and said, so are you ready, Naruto? Naruto looked at the figure and said, I will be now. Thanks. The figure nods and leaves and Naruto sets out to finish packing. The next day, Naruto in his ABNU uniform walked toward the front gates and the guard at the gates said, I never seen you before, who are you? Before Naruto had a chance to say anything, a voice screamed, wait, making everyone turn and look and saw Kurenai running toward the gates. As she got closer, she looked at the ABNU and asked, Maelstrom, right? Naruto said, yes, Kurenai-san. What can I do for you? Kurenai wrapped her arms around him in a hug and said, please be safe and take care of yourself. Naruto smiles behind his mask and said, I will, and you do also. The guards looked at them, and as they broke apart, Naruto said, my name is Maelstrom. Hokage-sama is sending me on a long-term mission and I am also new, so that is why you never seen me before. The guards nod and said, well, good luck, sir. Since ABNU are right under Junin and above Chunin, which is what the guards are. Naruto said, thanks, as he took one last look at Kurenai, who was looking at him, and Naruto thought, what the hell? She can kill me later. As he stepped forward, putting his arms around her in a hug, making them leave in a swirl of leaves to appear on top of the Hokage mountain, where Naruto pulled his mask to the side and kissed her passionately. Since he was currently using his henge, it made him just a little taller than her, and she returned the kiss. As they broke apart, Naruto pulled his mask back on and took them both back to the gates, and he said, goodbye. As he took off into the trees, leaving a stunned Kurenai and a couple of giggling guards. Kurenai sighed and turned to leave, and the guards said, a little young to be dating an ABNU. Kurenai said, considering he's younger than me and more powerful than both of you, I wouldn't joke. Making both men wide-eyed as she left, smirking to herself. In the trees a little down the road, a figure thought, God, I love that woman. Now to go to sea country to see if she's alive. As he took off down the road. 2 days later, Naruto was on a boat for sea country, and every few miles he would drop a scroll into the water. Once he made it to the island, he caught another boat to a smaller island, and once he got there, started going toward the center of the island where a volcano was. As he approached, he noticed the smell of sulfur as well as the fact it was getting hotter. He soon saw a temple sitting on a slope and walked toward the temple. As he approached, he heard a voice say, "Why have you come to this place, boy?" As he tensed but decided not to act scared since this happened before, but he never saw who it was the last time. Naruto, who was in his usual appearance, said, "I came to speak with the priestess Kayla. My reasons for coming are my own." The voice was quite a moment and Naruto waited, and then the voice said, "She will see you." Naruto nods and walks on toward the temple, ignoring the shadow that flew by overhead, and he soon made it to the gates of the temple that parted as two bald monks opened them and bowed to Naruto, who kept his eyes locked straight ahead. As he walked through the courtyard, a figure walked out of the main temple and stood on the steps looking at Naruto as if he was some kind of puzzle. As he walked up the 100 steps and stood on the last one and looked at the person who was standing there and asked, "Are you the priestess Kayla?" The old woman who was in a white robe said, "I am, though how you know me and why you have come here is a mystery to me." As she looked at him, Naruto said, "My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. My mother was Kushina Uzumaki, and she left a scroll for me saying that if I had any questions about her homeland, you would be able to help me." Kayla looked at Naruto and asked, "What is it you need of your mother's homeland?" Naruto said, "I wish to find one of my two uncles or my aunt, though I do not even know their names." Kayla was quite a moment and said, "Follow me," as she turned and walked into the temple. Naruto followed her and she stopped by a mat and said, "Sit here," as she walked toward a throne. Naruto walked over to it and sat down on the mat, and Kayla looked at him and said, "Both your uncles died during the fall of Whirlpool, and I am afraid that neither had any children." Naruto looked down and asked, "What about my aunt?" Kayla looked at Naruto and asked, "What do you know about your family and their bloodlines?" Naruto said, "I know that I have increased healing abilities as well as another bloodline that allows me to draw water out of the air without a water source. I only know that I am a distant cousin of the Nadaime Hokage and that my mother was the Kyuhyame Rasenkage, and I had two uncles and an aunt. Besides about 5 jutsu that I learned from a scroll, I don't know anything else but the fact that I can't access my water bloodline without a second blood relation." As he kept his eyes on Kayla. Kayla sighed and said, "Then you know nothing of your family or its true bloodline. It's not my place to tell you, so you must pass the test to learn the truth about your aunt." As she clapped her hands and two monks walked in. Naruto asked, "What are you talking about?" "What test?" Kayla said, "These two monks will take you to a door. You must enter the door and follow the passage and meet the only one who can tell you about your bloodline. She will give you a test, and if you fail, she will kill you. Now go." As Kayla got up and walked away, Naruto sighed as he got up and walked toward the two monks who lead him down a long hall and then to a steel door, and they both pulled the doors open and one said, "From here on you are by yourself." As Naruto nods and walks into what appears to be a cave with torches on the wall. He only goes about 5 feet before both doors close and leave him only torchlight. Naruto thought, "Well, this is different. When I came here at 17 after getting my mother's scrolls from Tsunade Obakan, Kayla was already dead, and the next priestess did not know anything about Whirlpool or me, so it was a dead end." As he continued down the cave and noticed it was getting hotter and harder to breathe. The smell of sulfur was getting worse, and soon Naruto heard a noise that stopped him in his tracks. It was a noise he's heard many times before, but only inside his mind. The noise of a sleeping giant. He took a few breaths to calm his nerves and continued down the path. After about 20 minutes, he saw a red light coming from what appeared to be the end of the cave, and he thought, "Reminds me more and more of Kyuubi's cage." As he walked out and gasped, as there sitting on a huge stone tower was a large white dragon with only a single little path leading toward it that was over a river of magma. Naruto thought, "Okay, next time I decide to listen to some old lady, I am going to ask her when was her last mental evaluation." The dragon opened its eyes and a golden eye looked at Naruto, who was still standing at the tunnel entrance, and said, "Why have you come here, mortal?" Naruto gulped and said, "I was told by the priestess Kayla that I would have to speak with you about my bloodline and pass your test before I could find out about my aunt." The dragon turned its head and looked at Naruto with both of its golden eyes and asked, "What is your name?" Naruto said, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. The dragon sniffed and said, "Ah, you're Kushina's son. I smell her scent from you, but I also smell something else. Something not human. Do you know what that is, boy?" Naruto said, "It's the Kyuubi. My father sealed it in me the day I was born to save my village." The dragon looked for a moment and snorts and said, "So the damn kitsune finally up, and I believe that makes you a Jinchuriki. Well, this will be an interesting test. Come here, child, and sit on the throne on this tower." As it flapped its wings and set itself up, showing a throne of some kind in the middle where the dragon was sleeping. Naruto calms himself and walks across the little path, gulping when he knocks a small pebble into the magma below, and continued to walk across and sighed as he made it to the larger island and walked over to the chair and looked one last time at the dragon before setting down. The dragon said, "My name is Diavon. I am the last adult queen dragon on the planet Earth. Above me are all my children still sealed in eggs. Some males, some females. This test is quite simple, child. When I begin the ceremony, this throne will bind you in place and hold you while it makes you chakra explode from your body. Depending on how much chakra you have as well as how pure or impure it is will determine if you attract any of my children. If you attract any, it will most likely be males, and if that is all, they will eat you and then I will eat them." Naruto got wide-eyed and gulped as he tried to think of a way out. Diavon said, "Now let me finish before you get excited. Now if you attract a female, she will kill any of the male dragons that awaken, and then if you survive her test, then you will pass mine. You must not make any noise during this test or you will fail and I will eat you. If you fail my daughter's test, she will eat you. If you pass her test, then I will tell you what your family bloodline is. Are you ready?" Naruto reaches up and tightens his grip on his locket and then nods, and the moment he sets both arms down on the armrest, they are bound to it, and he suddenly feels like he's flaring his but does not feel any pain. He then feels the Kyuubi chakra flare as well, and then he arches his back ready to scream as the pain overtakes him, but it's so painful that he can't get a breath to make the scream. Above Naruto, his blue chakra and the red chakra of Kyuubi suddenly start to take shape, and Diavon smiles as she hears the first of her eggs hatching. Kyuubi chakra takes on the appearance of the Kyuubi itself, while Naruto chakra takes on something that surprises the old queen, a phoenix. The phoenix soon starts to fly around and attacks the Kyuubi, while the Kyuubi tries to jump at the phoenix while neither actually gets the upper hand. Diavon watches amazed as she hears several more eggs pop open, and she looks and sees 10 males circling the two dueling beasts. Suddenly something that surprises everyone, Naruto body suddenly gets covered in a white glow as his body quits being pulled up in a painful expression, but a calming one washes over him and his eyes are closed, but he is fully awake and not in pain. When the white glow covered his body, a three being of chakra appeared. This time it is a white dragon. Diavon said, "It can't be," as she watches as the phoenix and the dragon soon tag team the Kyuubi, making it fall back into a defensive stance, trying to find some way to attack. Diavon turns and looks at Naruto as now a green glow covers him, and this time another being of chakra appears, and this time it appears to be a giant tree that grows and wraps around, binding the Kyuubi in place. Diavon was expecting many things, but what was happening was not one of them. As she continued to watch, she sees Naruto chakra change Aegean, as this time it's a blue like his own but darker, and this time it takes the shape of a great ape and it climbs the tree, helping hold the Kyuubi in place. If this was not enough, a golden wave of energy finally takes over Naruto body, and this time it takes the shape of Griffin, who stands in defiance of the Kyuubi. Diavon asked out loud, "How can this boy have those?" A figure appears in front of Diavon that shocks her to her core and says, "The boy is the destined child. The one who will change the world for the better or destroy the world. These are the guardians who now protect him. The wise ape is the spirit of the Sandaime Hokage. The white dragon is the spirit of the Nadaime. The mighty tree is the Shodaime. The griffin is his father, the Yondaime Hokage. Each were sealed into me and bound to him by me." Now watch as the last figure appears to finalize the legend. As both being turned and looked at, suddenly a crystal blue energy took over Naruto, and this time it took the shape of a woman. A woman who bends over and kisses Naruto on the forehead and said, "I love you, my son." As angel wings sprout out of her back and take flight up and stops beside the back of the griffin. The dragon then swoops down and the ape jumps on its back as it flies back into the air. The tree that now fully binds the Kyuubi squeezes tighter. The ape then jumps off and turns into a saddle and harness that covers the griffin. The dragon then circles a moment and turns into a long lance that lands in the angel's hand as she climbs on the griffin and sits down. The griffin then charges the Kyuubi, who is desperately trying to break free and is then punctured in the heart. The phoenix that had flew high into the air lets out a mighty call that makes the walls to the caves rattle and then flies at the Kyuubi as it sets not only itself on fire but the tree and Kyuubi. As the Kyuubi finally cries out and dies, all the energy from all the creatures swirls into a ball of energy that returns to Naruto as he passes out. The figure that is standing next to Diavon said, "The boy has broken the bounds of time and has changed the world. He has been there when the world suffered the terrible torments and pain. Now it is time for him to bring new hope to the world. I, the Shinigami, witness to the rise and fall of all life, shall observe the prophecy be fulfilled. Speak not of this to him and welcome the new age." As it fades away, Diavon looks up and blinks before blinking Aegean as all the eggs. All 300 of them had hatched and all of the dragons were now bowing to Naruto. Diavon closes her eyes and said, "So it is him. The one who shall cast the world away from destruction and into the light, but it shall be a long dark road first." She then flew up and began to eat all of the dragons that had hatched, male and female alike, until she was the only one left. She then circled around and flew at Naruto as her body was turned from flesh to pure energy as she flew into Naruto's body, making him scream out in pain as his arm is burned with a tattoo for a dragon that circles his body with its head on his left arm while the tail goes into the Kyuubi's seal. When Naruto awoke, he looked around and thought, "What the hell?" He was about to move when he heard a voice said, "You passed the test," in the back of his head, and he blinked and thought, "Who's there?" The voice said, "Enter your mind and come to the fox's cage." Naruto sighed and his eyes glossed over as he entered his mind and blinked before saying, "Damn," as his mind had been changed from a sewer to the cave he was now in. He walked down the tunnel and soon saw Diavon sitting below the Kyuubi cage that now hung from the ceiling. Naruto blinked and asked, "What the hell?" Diavon said, "You boy are surprising. You passed my test so well that I had no choice but to become your dragon." Naruto asked, "Okay, wait a minute. What do you mean my dragon? I don't understand any of this." Diavon sighed and said, "Simple. Your family, the Uzumaki family. The first family of Whirlpool and the last royal family of Whirlpool were at one time called the Royal Dragon Knights. Originally each Uzumaki would go into the world and search for dragon and take the test you just did. They had to try and awaken a female. If they failed they would die. Simple as that. But if they awakened a female, then the female would bond with the Uzumaki and become their personal dragon. They would live inside of the human body and feed off of the human chakra and produce eggs inside the body. The male eggs would be used to help in battle or other things, while the females would be released to go out in the world and start a new nest. This lasted for hundreds of years until the Great Demon Wars. After that war was over, only a handful of dragons were left alive. The Uzumaki family was also nearly destroyed, going down to one member. That member had 10 children who searched out for the remaining dragons but were killed after finding them, leaving only one child who hid. He searched out and found the last dragon and had the first female to be born from him hid here. That was me nearly 400 years ago. Since I was the last dragon, the Uzumaki who started Whirlpool at that time would come here and take the test and take one of my children as heir. Over time the Uzumaki have gotten our healing factor as their own, and the bloodline to pull water out of the air is a genetic marker showing you are the first heir of a family, but you must get the heir's relic to activate the bloodline. Now the Uzumaki had the monks and the priestess protect me here until this day. Now you child, I have chosen to be my master. I will have my children be yours allies in battle, and your children shall each have one of my daughters." Naruto thought a moment and asked, "What about my aunt?" Diavon said, "Let's ask the priestess to find out," as Naruto was forced out of his mind. Naruto blinked, getting focus, and started walking toward exit of the cave. After several minutes he got to the doors and pushed on them, and they glowed a moment before opening. As Naruto walked out, the two monks bowed to him and escorted him back to the main hall, where Ankela saw Naruto coming and was smiling, and then got wide-eyed as she saw the mark on his arm and said, "What happened?" Naruto was about to say something when he felt like he was being taken over, and then his eyes turned gold and his voice changed to that of Diavon, who said, "Relax, my old friend. I have finally found one who was worthy of me. I have left my youngest daughter's eggs in the cave, who should hatch in a year or two. Like me before her, she has all my memories, so she will know everything. Protect and guide her as your people have me. Now speak to the boy. As Naruto felt he was returned control and thought, give me a little warning next time. Kayla smiled and said, you must be surprising to have that old maid as your dragon. Well, I suppose she explained about your family bloodlines. Naruto nods and Kayla said, now to answer your question. Your aunt died last year in a bandit raid protecting a village. Naruto looked down until Kayla said, relax, young one. You still have one other relative. Your aunt had a child. A daughter named Ryu. However, you both have something in common besides blood. Naruto, who was listening, waited and Kayla said, you are both Jinchurikis. Making Naruto wide-eyed a moment and asked, how? Kayla sighed and said, whereas your father sealed the Kyuubi no Kitsune in you, her father sealed the Yamato no Orochi in her to protect her and her mother from their enemies. Naruto blinked and said, so she has the eight-headed snake in her. Kayla and Diavon both snicker at this and Naruto asked, what? Kayla said, Yamato no Orochi is not exactly a snake but actually a serpent. It was created when a dragon was bred with a demon during the Demon Wars. Naruto asked, how do you know all this, Kayla? Kayla sighed and said, I am a priestess for a reason. I have been given the gift of sight. It allows me to look for any one thing and see it if I concentrate. When you were gone, I looked for your family and found your cousin. Naruto asked, where is she? Kayla said, she is hiding in Mist Country. She cannot use the demon's powers though like you can, young one. Naruto asked, why not? Is it something to do with the seal? Kayla said, no. The demon's power is currently being used by another. He is the one who holds the legendary Kusanagi. Naruto sighed and said, shit, so you mean old Hebatem has it? Does that mean that Atsuki is after her as well? Kayla said, they will be. Naruto asked, what will happen to her if she were to get the grasscutter back? Kayla said, has Diavon told you how to activate your bloodline? Naruto said, yeah, something about a family heirloom. Kayla said, it's the same for her. Her mark of an heir is actually the grasscutter, and if she were to get it, then she could activate hers and at the same moment finally be able to use the demon's power. Naruto asked, what would happen if I killed the demon but was able to keep her alive? Kayla said, won't work. The moment she gets that sword, the demon will transfer from her to the sword, so whoever would possess the sword would possess the demon, so in actuality to save her from Atsuki is just have her hold the sword for a moment and then she would no longer be a Jinchuriki. Diavon said, but then you could give her one of my daughters so she would be a full Uzumaki Aegean. Naruto said, alright. Is there anything else you can tell me about her or anything? Kayla said, be ready for a surprise or four. As she laughs walking away. Naruto thought, yeep, definitely ask for mental evaluation next time, as he turns and walks away back to where the boat he rented was docked. Diavon walks around in her new den absorbing charka from the Kyuubi, who was now awake but scared shitless, starting to lay some of the first eggs when she heard the voice of Naruto ask, so what exactly happened in that test? I don't remember anything. Diavon was quite a moment trying to keep from telling him what really happened and said, the test shows what kind of spirit you have, and if you have a dueling spirit where you both good and bad they would fight, but in your case your spirit fought Kyuubis for dominance in your body, and with the help of your spirit you defeated Kyuubi and forced it into submission. After that they returned to your body. Your chakra just made it where it was visible for my children to have seen. Naruto thought and said, so basically I just fought with Kyuubi for control of my body. Nothing new there. So what exactly will happen with you being in my body? Diavon said, I will eat a little of your chakra, but mostly I am going to eat Kyuubi chakra to make new children for you to use in battle. Now that may sound good, but any chakra I eat will not be replaced like normal. You would have to earn it back with hard work, so that's why I am mostly going to eat Kyuubi chakra. Naruto was scared a moment, but when he heard it all he thought, thanks, so how exactly will I use these, children? Are they like summons? As he shudders a little. Diavon said, no, we won't be like summons. The children will be used in a unique way. Basically it's where they each will come for a single attack, but I will explain it when you have some that are ready. Until then it won't do any good to explain, and I don't know how long it will take. It may be a few hours or it might be a few weeks. All I can tell you is that the eggs won't hatch for a little while, so don't worry about it, and no, we are not like a bloodline. Naruto nods and asks, will this throw off my chakra control? Diavon said, actually it might help it since you won't have as much of Kyuubi chakra going into your system as usual. I am taking about 1/4 of what Kyuubi naturally gives you, so when Kyuubi dies you would have absorbed 6 or 7 tails of his energy and I would have ate the rest. Now I am tired, so I am going back to sleep, young one. As she circles in her cave and rests her head on her tail. Naruto thought, good night, as he watched the waves on the boat ride back to the mainland. His thought turned toward his cousin and thought, if she's in Mist I am going to need someone who knows Mist to find her, and I only know 3 Mist nins, and I sure as hell not going to ask Sharkface, so that just leaves Zabuza and Haku. Then I have to find Hebatem and get Grasscutter from him before anyone finds out about her. As he sighs to himself, trying to plan out what to do. Back in Konoha around this time, the Hokage was sitting at his desk as Team 4 walks in and he smiles and said, so Genma, how are your team doing? Genma looked at his team and at Ebu's black eye and said, mostly okay. It seems that Ebu's here has hurt team trust lately, as he has been spying on his teammate in the hot springs as well as being very perverted when it comes to his thought of her, and has caused a little team friction, but I still believe that they will be ready for the Chunin exams. The third looked at Ebu's and thought, please don't let Naruto find out or he might kill you. As he clears his throat and said, Ebu's, I am giving you a warning not to do it Aegean, or I will have you doing D-rank missions for 6 months by yourself like I have your teammate here for not following my orders. As he looked at Kurenai, who looked away. The third said, all right Genma, your team will leave in 3 hours heading for Suna, however you will not be joining them until the finals. I have need for you on a mission, so I have assigned a temporary team leader to your team. You can come in now. As he raised his voice at the end and the door opened up and Itachi walked in, making Kurenai eyes go wide for a moment as she recalls Naruto warning to be careful. She absent-mindedly touches her hip where she had that kunia hidden. The third said, all right Itachi, I just told your team they will be leaving in 3 hours to go to the exams. Now before I dismiss you, there is one other thing. There is another Konoha citizen going to be at the exams going solo, but he will not be representing Konoha but another village. I won't tell you who since it's a village secret, but he is an ally and you will be able to tell immediately who he is once you see him. Don't be surprised if you learn an S-rank secret, as after the exams it will no longer be a secret, or if he shows skills that someone so young shouldn't know. Now good luck in the exams and I will see you at the finals where I know you will make it. Dismissed. As the group turned to leave except for Genma, who looked at the Hokage. The Hokage saw him wait, and when the door closed he held up his hand to wait a moment as he read over another file, and when he was sure the chakra signatures from the group was away from the tower he said, Genma, I know you are wondering why I pulled you off of your team, and I will explain it, but you will not repeat any of this to anyone. Our spy network has uncovered a plot to assassinate the entire Uchiha clan in Konoha. It is supposed to happen in the next few weeks while your team is in Suna. I decided to be safe to have at least one male Uchiha away from the village so he can help restore the clan should my extra security fail, and that is why Itachi was assigned to your team, as not to arouse suspicion. I do have a mission for you like I said, but it won't start for 2 days. I am sorry for doing this, as I know you wanted to support your team before the finals, but sometimes you have to sacrifice personal feelings for the good of the village. Do you understand? Genma asked. If I may be so bold to ask, but how exactly is someone going to kill off 60 men, women, and children? The third sighed and said, for that we are unsure of, but we do know that there are Uchiha involved in it who are planning to help kill the others, but who we are unsure of. It is the reason I have Jiraiya as well as 3 units of ABNU watching the Uchiha district for any signs of trouble, but even the best laid plans of men are not always perfect, so I am taking necessary precautions. Hopefully whoever is involved will see Jiraiya and the ABNU and back off. Don't worry, you will be one of my guards who will accompany me to the finals so you can see your team. Now if there is nothing else, you are dismissed. Genma sighs as he leaves and wondered about the new threat as well as who could be the other ninja. 3 hours later at the gate, Team 4 were standing at the gates when Itachi walked up with Sasuke, who asked, so brother, when are you going to be back? Itachi said, I don't know. Sasuke said, when you get back can you teach me how to throw shurikens? Itachi looked down at Sasuke and said, perhaps. as he tapped him on the forehead and said, "Now return home and listen to mother and father. I have to leave," as he walked off from Sasuke. Sasuke looked at Team 4 and Kurenai was looking at him and saw Sasuke look changed from one of happiness to one of contempt and he, HMPED, and stuck up his nose like he was better than everyone and started to walk away. Itachi saw this and sighed, muttering to himself about arrogance and pride. Kurenai looked at him and as they started to leave, one of the guards saw Kurenai that was guarding the gates when Naruto left and asked, "So do you have a thing for ABNU or is it just young ones? This is the second time I seen you at the gates with a young ABNU," as he wiggled his eyebrows. Itachi stopped and asked, "What are you both talking about?" Kurenai said, "It's nothing, Itachi. Don't worry about it," as she tried to leave. Itachi looked at her and the guards said, "Nothing, huh? I bet it was nothing when he took you in your arms and took you away. I bet you gave him a real good time." Ebuse looked at her wanting revenge and said, "Really? This the same ABNU who you got that mysterious scroll from?" The guards said, "The real kicker is she said that he was younger than her and stronger than us." Itachi said, "There is no ABNU younger than me on the force right now." The guards said, "That's what she said. He called himself Maelstrom and that he was new." Itachi looked at Kurenai who was trying to stay calm and asked, "What do you know about this, Kurenai?" Kurenai was about to say something when Kakashi appeared and said, "Hello," drawing everyone's attention. Kurenai saw Kakashi and hoped he was here to help. Itachi said, "Kakashi-kun, I was wondering if you could help me with this mystery. It appears someone is impersonating an ABNU and Kurenai is involved." Kakashi said, "Actually, Itachi, she is friends with him and from what I heard all of you are correct on the part about him being younger than all of you and the fact is he is stronger than me. After all, I tested him myself and the Hokage because of his unique skills and training placed him on a long-term multiple mission journey. In fact, he will be in Suna from what I heard, but why I do not know. Kurenai does know him since he asked her to watch his place while he was away, but she does not actually know him since he has always met her under a henge. The only person who actually knows who he is and what he looks like is the Hokage." Itachi was stunned as he heard but kept his emotionless face up and asked, "If I may ask, Kakashi-kun, how good is he and how old is he?" Kakashi said, "I know he is less than 12 years old and can stand toe-to-toe with Jiraiya-sama for at least several hours. Other than that I don't know." Itachi nods and said, "I see. Thank you, sir, and I will refrain myself and the others from questioning Kurenai-san, and I apologies for doubting you, miss. It's just you can never be too careful. It's just I would have expected to have heard about a new prodigy arising in Konoha." Kakashi said, "The Hokage is keeping a tight lip on him and his skills because he believes that someone is giving information to other villages and is trying to find the mole since certain classified information recently came up through our spy network." Itachi said, "I see. Thank you for informing me. All right, team, let's head out." The team started to leave and Inu said, "Kurenai, I was hoping you could give something to Naruto for me. He's in Suna," making everyone look at her. Kurenai asked, "What is it, Kakashi, and why would Naruto be in Suna?" Kakashi reaches into his weapon pouch and handed her a scroll and said, "He's there for the exams. Hokage-sama is using his unique situation as a political move trying to get the survivors of Whirlpool to join Konoha." Making everyone wide-eyed and the guards said, "The Kyuubi brat." And suddenly he was impaled by a kunai in the head by surprisingly Itachi. Everyone was startled and Itachi said, "He broke the law." Kakashi nods and said, "Well, good luck everyone. I will take care of this." As he walked over to the dead guard and took his body away as Team 4 walked away toward Suna. After they were gone, Kakashi looked down at the body and said, "Did you get enough info, Hokage-sama?" As the body dissolves into mud and the Hokage steps out from a tree and said, "Yes. Now that I know how he will react if someone badmouths Naruto as well as how he acts around his brother, I can have a mud clone impersonate him. Thank you, Aegean, for your help, Chunin, and remember not to mention anything about what you heard or saw." The Chunin nods and said, "No problem, sir," as he returns to his post guarding the gates. A few minutes later, Ibiki shows up with the real man guard and said, "Sorry about that, but we had to make sure you were who you said you were. We're doing random checks on people trying to find the source of an information leak." The Chunin said, "No problem. I understand," as he swayed a little from Anko, torture. A little down the road Ebus asked, Kurenai, what did Kakashi mean by Naruto unique situation and what does it have to do with Whirlpool? Kurenai sighed and said, I learned on accident that Naruto was actually born a ninja of two villages. Konoha and Whirlpool, meaning he never had to go to the academy to become a ninja. The Hokage decided because of who his mother was as well as who his father was that it would be a perfect excuse to bring in what survivors of Whirlpool are still out in the world. Katetsu asked, who were his parents? I thought he was an orphan, and how exactly did you find out? Kurenai said, well, Naruto mother was the Rasenkage of Whirlpool and his father was the Yondaime, making everyone stop and look at her. Itachi asked, are you sure? Kurenai said, yes. If you think about it, he's the spitting image of his father once you take the whiskers away, and it makes sense also. Would the Yondaime willingly ask some stranger to give up their child when he was not willing to give his own? Everyone thought about it and Ebus said, damn, can't believe I missed that one. Kurenai said, the entire village missed that one and the Hokage kept it a secret from everyone to keep him from having assassination from Iwa. Itachi asked, how exactly did you find out? Kurenai giggled and said, you know my mission that I had to do for not listening to the Hokage. They were catching the Fire Lord's cat and I was outside the door one day when he told Naruto the truth and gave him his family scrolls. The Hokage asked me to keep quiet until Naruto was ready for the Chunin exams, and since he's going to be in the exams I figure I can tell the truth now. Truth is, it was through Naruto that I met Maelstrom. Apparently they have a connection somehow, but how I don't know. Itachi said, to think that something so obvious could be hidden so easily. Our village really has become arrogant and stupid lately. Come on. We must hurry. As they took off into the trees, Kakashi, after he left the Hokage, walked back into his apartment and thought about what he had a conversation with Naruto about. Flashback. Naruto was in his house when Kakashi showed up. During the past few months Kakashi had learned where it was and had even helped a little when he could, but today he was here for another reason. He had just left the Hokage office learning what exactly the Hokage had planned for Naruto. Kakashi was about to let himself in when Naruto walked toward his house from the entrance of the woods and said, hello Kakashi, what are you doing here? Kakashi turned and said, well, I came to talk to you. I heard about what the Hokage is actually up to with you and I wanted to know if you are really ready for what is going to happen. The Hokage is basically sending you out to be killed. Naruto sighed and said, I know, but it's the only way to accomplish the goal he wants me to, and it also gives me the chance to find my aunts and uncles. Come on inside so we can talk. I am expecting a visitor in a little bit. Kakashi follows Naruto in and said, I know you are Junin on ninjutsu right now, but your speed, power and endurance are still lacking somewhat. Do you even have a plan for this? As he raised his voice with aggravation. Naruto said, yes I do. I got a lead that my mother mentioned in a scroll as to how to find my relatives. It's not much, but it's a start. As far as showing everyone who I am, I figure showing how big of a threat I am would be the best way. I could make myself look like my dad since I do know his jutsu, but I also want to be recognized for myself. Kakashi said, what about Kurenai? Does she know? Naruto said, yes, I took a scroll by her team grounds earlier today, but she having an emotional problem with her teammate right now, so if she shows up make yourself scarce. Just then the door knocked and Naruto was about to say something when Kakashi hanged himself into one of the battle toads and Naruto had to run upstairs to keep from laughing and to make it look like he was not expecting Kurenai. Kakashi then walks to the door and opens the door and said, oh, it's you. Naruto is upstairs packing. Please come in. Kakashi saw her walk upstairs as he tried to make himself look busy, and after about 20 minutes she came back downstairs and left. He then walked upstairs and heard Naruto say, you can come out now. She gone. Kakashi appeared and looked at Naruto and said, so are you ready, Naruto? Naruto looked at the Kakashi and said, I will be now. Thanks. End flashback. Kakashi thought to himself, and he was sure his little gift will make Naruto day. When Naruto arrived at the gates of Suna, he was surprised to see that not a lot had changed since he was here in the future when he first came here to rescue Gaara. The guards saw him approach and said, what is your reason for coming to Suna? Naruto said, I came for the Chunin exams. The guard asked, where is your team and sensei? Naruto raised his shirt and showed his whirlpool headband and said, I don't have either. I was told the Hokage of Konoha had arranged for me to compete already. The guard asked, "What is your name?" Naruto said, "Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze." The guard said to the other one, "Go inquire from the cage." The other guard nods and leaves in a swirl of sand, and a few moments later he returned with the cage who looked at Naruto and said, "So you are the one the Hokage asked me to allow." It is quite unusual for a cage to ask a ninja of their village to represent another, but when he informed me that you wished to honor your mother's homeland, I agreed since Suna and Konoha had both been allies of Whirlpool. You may enter. Naruto bowed and said, "Thank you, Kase," as his head turned and looked toward the desert as he sensed something, and he said, "Pardon my interruption, Kazekage-sama. I thought I just sensed something I was not expecting, but I guess I have spent too many hours in the sun. Agi and I wish to thank you for allowing me to participate." The cage smiled and said, "Yes, the heat of the desert can get to anyone if they are not careful, though it is not always the case. What do you think you sensed, Naruto?" As he looked at the young boy and watched. Naruto eyes closed and thought, "That's definitely a Jinchuriki, but who?" And said as he opened his eyes, "I am not sure, but it felt like lightning. I have always had an unusual ability to detect lightning before it appeared so I could get out of the way." The cage looked at the sky and said, "Well, there is no lightning or storms, so it must be the heat. Go on in and get you some water and rest, and welcome to Suna." Naruto bowed and entered the village and thought, "I know who it is now. That's definitely someone with lightning affinities, so that means it's her." As he searched for the name of the hotel Konoha ninja we're going to be using. The cage turned to the guard and said, "Follow him and keep an eye on him," and was about to leave when the other guard said, "Kazekage-sama, another team." Making the cage look and get wide-eyed a moment and thought, that would explain the lightning feeling. A team from the Cloud Village. Naruto was on his way to get some rest at his hotel, already feeling himself being followed by a clumsy Chunin, and then his nose smelled something to make it twitch. He looked around and followed the smell and came to a small restaurant with a lot of empty space and a man looking scared, and Naruto walked up to him, obviously the owner, and said, I could not help but notice that you have a lot of empty seats. Are you open?" The owner looked at Naruto and said, "Yes, but HES here now, so I don't know if you should enter." Naruto said, "But I smell ramen and that is what I want. I did not know someone in Suna could cook ramen." The owner looked shocked and said, "Ramen? Never in all my days have we ever served ramen." Naruto said, "Well, it smells like you have now and I want some. Can I come in and eat?" As he pulled out his wallet, making the owner wide-eyed by the size of it, and said, "Yes, go on in and I will try and see if I can get you some of whatever they are cooking." Naruto shot a confused look at the owner and said, "That's okay, I will go and get it myself since it looks like you're short-handed." As he walked by the sputtering man and laid some money on a table and walked into the kitchen. When he walked in, he was immediately bombarded by the sound of someone singing along with a radio and the sight of an 8-year-old Gaara looking at the person who was dancing by the stove while Kankuro was sitting a little to the side with his back to Naruto, and Kankuro said, "So tell me, Aegean, how exactly you learned to cook ramen and why?" Temari, who still had her back to them, said, "My reasons were my own, and as for how both Ayame and Kurenai taught me Naruto favorites." Naruto said, "And why would you want to know my favorites?" Making all three turn around and go wide-eyed, and he said, "Hello," with a smile on his face. The next thing he knew, he was being tackled by Temari, who wrapped her arms around him and said, "So you made it," as she let a tear roll down her face. Naruto, who had fallen down with her on top of him, said, "Yes, but what are you guys doing here? I thought that only I was coming back." Gaara stood up and helped Naruto up and said, "We decided to help our family," in a final tone of voice that anyone who knew the future cage would know was not up for discussion. Naruto smiled and said, "Well, I am glad. So how long have you guys been here?" Gaara said, "Since my uncle tried to kill me 2 years ago." Naruto nods and said, "I've been here about 6 months along with the old man Hokage, Kakashi, Anko, and Kurenai." As he looked down, Temari said, "Your wife and the others are here also." "How?" Naruto looked down and said, "No, she's not my wife. Apparently I already went through a timeline once and died, but those 4 came back to save me, having seen my memories, or at least the Hokage and Kurenai have." As he sat down in a chair, Temari said, "I see. So what are you doing in Suna now? I mean, we should not have met for several years." Naruto snorts and said, the old man put me in the Chunin exams to try and find my other relatives. It turned out my mom had 2 brothers and a sister, but all 4 are dead now. I recently learned on my way here. I do have a cousin who is in Mist, so after the exams I will be heading to Mist while doing missions. As he raised his shirt sleeve and showed them an Anbu caption tattoo, making all 3 wide-eyed. Temari asked, what about you and Kurenai? As she sat down beside him. Naruto said, there's not much really. Me and her have gotten to know each other a little, but I already know that she will never be like my wife and our son will never be born. As he closed his eyes and a tear fell. Gaara walked over to him and said, well, we are here for you if you ever need us, brother. As he put his hand on Naruto's shoulder. Naruto's expression changed and his eyes opened and they were glowing and looked at all 3 who were confused, and his voice came out in a female voice and said, so you are the young one's adoptive family. It is an honor to meet you. Gaara narrowed his eyes and said, who are you? You're not the Kyuubi. Laughter could be heard from Naruto and said, correct. I am not the Kitsune. I am Diavon, one of the last dragons and partner of the royal family of Whirlpool. The Uzumakis. The young one here is one of the last 2 members, so I have decided to be his new companion since I am the oldest living dragon. Temari asked, how did you get inside him? Diavon looked at all 3 in the eyes for a moment and lingered on Temari and held out Naruto's hand and said, please shake my hand, dear. I need to see something. Temari was confused and asked, what do you mean? Diavon said, all will be explained after I see something. I need to read your thoughts for a moment and I can only do it by contact. There is something about you I must know. Gaara said, you will do nothing to her. Diavon said, I am unable to hurt anyone unless Naruto wills it, and he most definitely does not will it of any of you. Please have a little faith and let me see if my assumption is correct. Gaara was about to say something when Temari held her hand out and said, all right. Diavon took the hand and looked into Temari's eyes, and Temari felt a little tingle in her arm, and Diavon smiled as she let go and said, so I was right. You will do and I approve. Temari asked, approve what? Diavon said, you will know in time, but it is not know. You have a personal mission that your brothers know not of to complete before you will find out. Temari got wide-eyed and asked, how? Gaara asked, what is she talking about, Temari? Temari said, I made a promise to someone in my past that I wish to fulfill now that we are in the past. It was something I hoped for a long time I would be able to do, and now I can do it. It's just a personal matter to make my own soul feel free of my promise. It's nothing to do with anything important to changing the future. Naruto's eyes returned to normal and said, I told you to ask next time. As he sighed and saw the looks all 3 were giving him and said, it's a long story and should not be mentioned since my tail finally decided to come into the restaurant to see what is taking me so long. Gaara said, ramen. In a hungry voice. Temari squeaked and ran to the stove just as it was about to boil over, and she said, damn it, it was almost ruined, but I caught it just in time. As she came over with the pot and poured Naruto some first before the rest, and she said, I hope you like it, Naruto. As she sat down and ate. Naruto said, thank you. As he took a bite and said, this is good. As he started to dig in with renewed vigor, as did the others except Temari, who was eating slowly with a little tenge of pink on her cheeks. Naruto looked up as he finished the bowl and said, are you all right? You look red. Temari, who felt the eyes of her brothers on her, said, yes, I am fine, just a little hot from cooking. Naruto smiles and the door to the kitchen opened up, and the Chunin who was following Naruto saw Naruto and who he was with and said, what's going on here? Gaara said, Naruto here came and asked if he could join us for lunch, and we agreed since Temari felt like cooking. What are you doing here? As he looked at the man releasing a little killer intent. The Chunin paled and said, I was just looking to make sure he found himself some water in his hotel since he was a guest here for the Chunin exams, Gaara-sama. As he pointed to Naruto. Naruto, who had just finished the second bowl, said, one was just finishing. You cook really good, Ms. Temari. You will make some guy very happy one day. Aegean, thank you for the company, but as the guard said, I am still needing to get a hotel room. I was supposed to stay at the hotel with the Konoha teams. I believe the Hokage told me that it was going to be Team 4 from Konoha with Ebus, Kurenai, and Katetsu under temporary sensei Itachi Uchiha. Making all 3 Sand Sibs wide-eyed for a moment. Naruto bowed and said, Aegean, I thank you and have a good day. Perhaps we can seal our bet later, Gaara-sama, over a game of Go if you have the time and permitted to. Gaara smiled and said, Of course. I am afraid I did not catch your full name, Naruto-san. Naruto said, Forgive me, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. Gaara said, It's a pleasure, Namikaze-san, as he shook hands with Naruto. Naruto smiled to them and left with his guard and asked, So where is this hotel at? I am full now and could use a shower before I retire for the evening. The Chunin said, Right this way, as he glanced at the sand sibs as he left. Konkuro snickers and said, Tricky as a fox. Some things never change. Temari said, Well, I am full. So are you going to do it, Gaara? Gaara said, Hell yes. A chance to sleep Aegean and shut the damn raccoon up. I would be a fool not to jump at this chance. So what was that dragon searching for? Temari said, I don't know, as she thought to herself about something. Konkuro asked, Should we show our true skills? Gaara said, No. For now let's see where this plays out and go from there. For now let's just wait until we know what is really going on. I will ask Naruto when I get my seal fixed. Konkuro and Temari nods and all three leave the restaurant and Gaara said, Send the bill to the cage, as they walked out. As they were walking, Gaara stopped and looked toward a team that was entering a hotel and thought, Another Jinchuriki, but who? I must ask Naruto since he had info on all of us at one time. Temari asked, What is it, Gaara? Gaara shook his head and said, I am not sure. I will tell you later once I am for sure. Come, we are supposed to meet Baki for our team training. Konkuro groans and said, I will be glad when he says we can get our weapons. I brought all mine with me in a scroll. Gaara said, I just brought some light reading in mine, as he gave a small giggle. Temari said, Same, as she thought about what she brought in a scroll. That night Naruto was sleeping softly when he sensed a presence in his room and said, So how you doing, Gaara? As he slowly sat up. Gaara took his shirt off and said, Not as good as I will be when you fix this. Naruto walks over and grabs a scroll before walking over and said, Lay on the floor so I can begin drawing the seals. As he unsealed some sealing ink and brushes. Gaara laid down and said, Did you sense the other one who arrived today? Naruto said, Ni Yugito, vessel of Nibi. Yeah, I sensed her. They took her right after they took you originally. Asuma died shortly after that. As he started drawing seals. Gaara asked, So what's with the dragon? Is she trustworthy? Naruto said, I believe so. She came from a pretty reliable source and she sacrificed her own freedom to join me, so I give her some faith. Gaara nods and said, Makes sense, but be careful. Not all who offer kindness are trustworthy. Naruto snorts and said, We're both living proof of that, my friend. Gaara, I may be over my head on this. Gaara looked confused and said, The seal. Naruto said, No, the seal's easy to fix. My cousin. She's like us and she has the Yamato no Orochi in her, or more precisely the soul of it, but the demon's power is actually in the grasscutter's sword in Orochimaru possession. If she touches the sword, the demon will leave her and go in the sword like Kisame but backwards. Gaara thought and said, So to save her you got to get the sword from Orochimaru. Naruto nods and said, Plus I won't be able to return to the leaf for a while. The Hokage basically wants me to make the whole world see me and gun for me. Gaara snorts and said, So you have to use your people skills and piss the world off. Not too hard for you, but I see your point. You need a way to protect your cousin. Let me work on things on my end and see what I can do, and you worry about tracking her and the sword down, but be careful. Naruto nods and asked, Itachi is going to be here tomorrow, so watch yourself. He is supposed to kill his clan while the exams are going on, so the Hokage thinks if he's not there then maybe he won't be involved. He's also doing some security with Erozen there also. Gaara said, Seems like a reasonable plan. Any idea on what we should do? Naruto said, For now stay back and observe while secretly training. In case the war still happens, we need someone on the inside to know what changes are being made so we can prepare. I will inform those who know about the future that you're here to help, but other than the ones I mentioned earlier, no one knows, and I want to keep it that way. I gave you a weight seal to help you increase your speed, strength, stamina, and reserves, so that will help. Just channel chakra on this seal on your arm and say Kai. Practice shutting it off once a week to get used to your new speed and strength. I have a scroll detailing how to give it to you siblings for you. Are you ready now? As he looked at Gaara. Gaara said, I understand. How strong are you right now, Naruto? Naruto thought and asked, with or without the fox? Gaara said, without. Naruto said, Hi Chunin, Lo Junin unless I want to get flashy. If I do that then all gloves are off. That might work. As something clicked in his head. Gaara asked, what? Naruto said, no matter what make sure you and your sibs are at the Chunin exam finals. I think I know a quick way to piss the world off. As a gleam entered his eyes and Gaara got scared. Gaara asked, this isn't going to be like the beachfront thing is it? Naruto said, no. This time it will be an entire island thing with free rides and gifts and everything. Gaara groans and said, please don't destroy my village. I have big plans this time around. Naruto said, as long as Hibitem kills your old man. Gaara said, he's dead either way. Temari done heard about some arranged marriage crap that he's planning to put her through in a few years, but we don't know the full details, and with him it may be just a joke, but we are never sure with him. Naruto said, that's a crock of shit. Temari's a good woman. Or girl. She deserves a decent man. I know her and Shikamaru never went past the first date and she had something going for a while in the background, but she should not be used as some kind of property. Gaara gave Naruto a deadpan look and said, this coming from the guy who put his own teammate on an auction block hog-tied in a naughty nurse outfit with matching bra and panties, completely drunk, and started the bidding at a penny. Naruto scratched his chin and said, your point. Gaara sighed and said, get on with the damn ceiling. I want to go to sleep. Naruto said, you know you're going to scare the shit out of the whole village, right? Gaara said, what can I say? A friend showed me the joys of pranking. Naruto smiled and activated the seal, making Gaara scream out for a moment, and then after about 30 seconds he stopped and his body fell back, resting as he gasped for breath. Naruto said, your auto defense should still be the same and you will need to work on chakra controls since you got more of his chakra going into you now, but only about 10% more, so I say by the time you're 14 you should completely absorb it. Gaara nods and said, thank you brother. As he disappeared in a swirl of sand. Naruto looked at the seals on the wall and did some hand signs and they all burned away, and he sat down on his bed and waited. The cage was in his office doing paperwork when Gaara appeared and said, good night father. As he laid down on the sofa. The cage did not look up for a moment and said, good night Gaara. And then he blinked and looked up and saw Gaara sleeping, and he screamed as he ran out of his office screaming, Gaara asleep, run for your lives. Naruto was sitting waiting when he heard the screams of Gaara's asleep, run for your lives, echo across the village and repeat several times as all of Suna awoke. Naruto laid down and said, sweet dreams brother. As he fell asleep. In the Sabaku estates, Temari and Kankuro both smiled and thought the same thing as they fell asleep. The next day when Naruto left his hotel room, he was dressed in a pair of white pants with a red shirt and a pair of red sunglasses on, and saw the looks of all the Suna residents and smirked at the bags under their eyes and thought, justice is served. As he was walking he felt like there were a pair of eyes on him, but he could not place them until he saw Itachi looking at him, and he blinked and said, hello Itachi. Itachi looked at Naruto and said, you seem to be in good spirits today, Naruto-san. Naruto said, thank you. Tell me, where is your team? Itachi said, they are at the hotel getting checked in. I was wondering if I may have a word with you in private. Naruto said, sure, where at? Itachi said, wherever is convenient for you. Naruto said, my hotel room. Follow me. Itachi followed Naruto and they both made it to his room quickly and quietly, and when they entered Naruto did some hand signs and said, silent sealing jutsu. As the room glowed and he said, okay, we can talk and no one can hear us. What do you need? Itachi said, how's Anbu? In a calm voice. Naruto asked, what do you mean? Itachi said, Naruto-san, please do not think me as ignorant as people believe you to be. I may not have all the details, but I can tell by the fact that you are here alone and the fact that your skills are completely unknown and that you are here with the Hokage permission that you are far stronger than a genin. There is also the fact of someone who has recently appeared as an Anbu who is younger than me and stronger than Kakashi. There are only so many possibilities to who that could be, and you are the top and leading suspect, not to mention your parentage Namikaze. Naruto sighed and said, You live up to your reputation as a prodigy, Itachi. So tell me, what is it you need from me? You obviously are not just wanting to confirm your theory. Itachi said. No, in fact it is something that I have yet to mention to the Hokage. In fact I believe the Hokage would be unable to help me with the current situation. Naruto said. Go ahead. I am listening. Itachi said. Recently my clan was contacted by someone who has offered them a deal. Naruto asked. What kind of deal? Itachi said. He offered my clan power. Enough power to rule the world. Naruto said. And, what have they decided? Itachi said. My father is going to test what we have been told, and if it comes true they are going to defect from Konoha and join the man. Naruto sighed and said. What do you think about it, Itachi? Itachi said. I believe it is a trap and that my clan should be stopped, but I don't know how. Naruto asked. Did Madara tell you how to get the power? Itachi said. No, how did you know it was Madara? As he looked at Naruto with shock. Naruto smiled and said. Alright Itachi, I am going to break a few rules and let you in on some information, but in return before I do I want to place a seal on you. Itachi asked. Why? Naruto said. So that way if you betray mine and the Hokage trust or act on your own I can either paralyze you and stop you or kill you, whichever the situation demand for the safety of Konoha. Itachi thought a moment and said. Fine. My allegiance is to Konoha and the Hokage. Naruto smiled and got out some ink and walked behind Itachi and started to draw a seal on Itachi's neck and said. This is going to burn. Ready. Itachi nods and Naruto activates the seal, but Itachi said nothing. When it was over Naruto sat back down and said. Alright, first thing first. Uchiha Madara is not what you would call stable. He cares nothing about anyone but power and having those who are strong follow him without question. Currently he has built a secret organization called Akatsuki. This group is composed of S-rank missing ninja and are currently based in a foreign country that myself and the Hokage know of, but I will not reveal because we are unsure of how much control they have there or if they are independent of the country. Now, of current members we are only aware of a few. Sasori of the Red Sand, Orochimaru, a man named Pain who holds the legendary bloodline Rinnegan, his partner named Conan who has the ability to turn into paper and use paper as a weapon. Both were former students of Jiraiya during the last Great War, but he only taught them enough to survive since they were children, and then they were trained by the man who named the Sanins himself. We have unconfirmed information on other members, but we are waiting for proof before we act on it. Now this group goal is to collect all 9-tailed demons and use them as super weapons to destroy all other hidden villages and enslave the people of the world, though only Madara knows the real reason. The rest of the group believes that they are trying to end all wars and let all other nations, only threatening to use the demons as their power. I have already set in motion ways to ruin this goal but have yet activated them, since it will not only kill the Kyuubi inside me leaving me severely weakened but also several allies I have helping in stopping them. Now Madara is actually the leader of this group, but he hides himself as an idiot and a low-level underling to the rest of the group except for Pain and Conan. Even Orochimaru has been fooled by his act. Now what information we have gathered on Madara is that he has created a jutsu that allows him to take over the body of another and use it as his own, transferring his soul into the body much like the Yamankos do with their minds, but in his case it's permanent. We have information that he has tricked Orochimaru into believing he secretly stole the jutsu for his own use when in fact he purposely gave him a weaker version of it, so when Orochimaru decides to betray them and when he uses the jutsu he will eventually die from using it, too much as Madara knows he will, while he will do exactly what Madara wants him to do. Itachi asked. What is that? Naruto said. Give Uchiha Sasuke the cursed seal. Itachi got wide-eyed and asked. Why Sasuke? Naruto said. Because Madara has chosen Sasuke as his next body, and during the course of action to get it he plans to eliminate every other Uchiha on the planet so that he can breed only those of his future bodies who are only loyal to him as he rules the world forever. He originally planned for you to be the instrument of destruction for your clan, which is why you are here in Suna now instead of Konoha. We know what Madara had planned, but we had one of our informations wrong on this. We believed Madara had contacted you and told you how to get the power he promised, but it looks like now that he had plan on your clan to use you as the test, since our sources told us that it was you he chose to push your brother into living the life of an avenger, betraying everyone for the power to kill you, which would lead him to Orochimaru, and when he was strong enough for Madara to take him after he killed you, since by gaining the power he promised you would actually slowly make you go blind. As he lays back on the bed ignoring the shocked look on Itachi's face, Itachi asked, "So the Hokage is aware of this?" Naruto said, "Currently he has several units of Anbu and Jiraiya there to not only keep Sasuke safe but also to protect your clan. As long as you never unlock the next level in the Sharingan, then Madara plans for you and eventually Sasuke are ruined, which is why I placed the seal on you that not only me, but also the Hokage or Jiraiya could kill you with, since it's a version of the Hyuga cage bird seal. You understand the security risk now and understand my precaution." Itachi said, "I understand. What is to happen to me?" Naruto said, "We have a couple of options and they will depend on the rest of your clan, since we don't know who they will use as a test since you're not there currently. I don't know what the Hokage has planned, but I do know that Madara is supposed to be there when the test happens, since he wants to ensure that the next level is unlocked. I figure if Jiraiya and the Hokage can catch him in the act, they will try and kill him, but if not, then arrest the test subject and make a public trial for the murder of whoever it is that the person killed to unlock the next level, and then make it where everyone is aware of Madara plans for your clan thus." Itachi said, "Thus embarrassing my clan, forcing them to never go after the power, since everyone will be looking for them to do so, thus preventing the destruction of my clan and ruining Madara plans." Naruto said, "It's only a temporary solution until Madara comes for me, at which time I will either kill him or use the Shiken Fujin and kill him, depending on how strong I am at the time, taking him along with myself and Kyuubi, thus stopping him." Itachi said, "Are you sure he will be coming for you?" Naruto said, "He wants his slave back, so he will come for me to reclaim the Kyuubi. He can always take the body of another Uchiha and bide his time, but with 6 of the demons sealed in humans right now, he only has around the next 12 years to act, since the oldest Jinchuriki is over 60 and not in good health." Itachi said, "You have a lot of information on his." "How?" Naruto said, "I created a spy network that is constantly repairing itself and that has nearly 1 million spies in it, and none of them even know that they are spies for me and live their lives without even knowing that they could be giving me all the information we need to save Konoha. Now what do you plan, Itachi?" Itachi said, "I have no choice but to wait and see what the Hokage plans." Naruto said, "In that case I have a mission for you." Itachi said, "What authorization do you have to give me orders?" Naruto raised his sleeve showing the captain tattoo and said, "I only answer to Jiraiya, Kakashi, Anko, and the Hokage himself. Currently I am equivalent to the highest ranking person in Suna until one of those 4 arrive here, and besides my mission is not very dangerous or hard. All I want you to do is keep your team safe until the exams are over, and when the finals arrive, don't let any of them interfere with any of my matches, no matter who I am facing." Itachi asked, "Who do you plan to fight?" Naruto said, "I don't plan to fight anyone. I plan to kill the Nibi." With his eyes closed, making Itachi's eyes widen, and said, "I see. Anything else?" Naruto was quite a moment and said, "Yes, if a girl named Temari, a boy named Gaara, or a boy named Kankuro come to see Kurenai, allow them private access to talk to her, but do not allow any security they have besides each other to be alone with her." Itachi asked, "Why them and why her?" Naruto said, "Kurenai like you knows about me, but she also knows of those 3 through me. If they need some way to get in contact with me, they know to contact her, and through her to me, since she will be able to contact me where they wouldn't. As for who they are the children of the cage who are in a position to relay information." Itachi said, "You sure have quite a few sources and allies." Naruto said, "Itachi, in about 2 years I should be stronger than my father was when he faced Kyuubi, and that is a conservative look at my skills. Thanks to my bloodlines and the Kyuubi, I am basically a one-man army. How many Kajbunshians can you make before feeling chakra exhaustion?" Itachi thought and said, 40. Why? Naruto said, "I train daily with 1000 Kajbunshians and train all day. That is a drop in the hat for me. Now do you understand why the idiots back in Konoha have been stupid when it comes to me?" Had I really been the Kyuubi with the skills and power I have, then I could have destroyed the entire village in no time. And if you're wondering why that genjutsu is not working on me, I discovered a way to make nearly all genjutsu obsolete on me. As he set up. Itachi said. You are indeed impressive, Naruto-kun. I would like to test myself against you one day. Naruto said. Allow me to rest a little once I return to Konoha in a few years and we shall have a spar. Deal. Itachi said. Deal, and I won't mention any of this. Just then a frog appeared and said. Yo bro, how's it going? Naruto said. Fine Gamataki, what are you doing here? Gamataki said. Is it okay to speak with him here? Especially when it pertains to what's going on in Konoha. Naruto said. Go ahead. Itachi has been informed. Gamataki nods and said. Right. The Hokage created a mud clone to impersonate Itachi using your unique henge while he was away, saying that the Hokage changed senses at the last minute and allowed him to stay. The clone was asked to meet his friend Shishui by a river where Shishui tried to kill the clone but was knocked out by the clone. Currently he is being questioned by Ibiki, but when he was captured, Madara attacked the Uchiha and killed the Uchiha council as well as the Uchiha clan head. Naruto asked, was it just Madara or was there others? Gamataki said. Apparently it was just Madara. He was in the council chamber when he killed them all by using Kajbunshians in a surprise attack. It was immediately after this that Jiraiya and the Anbu arrived and he immediately fled. Naruto sighed and said, right. Return to Jiraiya and tell him to have Hiashi Hyuga, Hinata Hyuga, Hinabi Hyuga, and Neji Hyuga along with whatever security they want to come with him for the finals. I have a treat planned for them that they are going to want to be present for. Gamataki nods and leaves, and Itachi said, I don't understand, why would my best friend try and kill me? Naruto said, thus forcing you to defend yourself and kill him, then out of self-pity you would then awaken the next level of the Sharingan. You have to feel guilt over killing someone you care about to unlock it. Itachi sighs and said, I see that you were right about Madara. If I would have killed Shishui, then I would have unlocked the eyes and then been pissed at my clan over it and killed them all for it. Naruto said. And then when you tried to fight Madara in an emotional state, he would have beat you and then convinced you to follow him and leave your brother behind, thus claiming credit for killing your family, driving your brother thirsty for power and giving Madara what he wants. Itachi said. Thank you Namakazesama for saving the rest of my clan with your information. Naruto said. Sama. Questionably. Itachi said. If you had not informed the Hokage who put me here, then I would be killing my clan right now, giving the real killer what he wants. Naruto said. Well, this is unexpected, but I hate formalites, just call me Naruto. Itachi said. Very well Naruto-kun. I have to return to my team. Naruto said. Inform them about what happened so they are not caught unaware when the delegation for the exams arrive for the finals. I need to go get something to eat. As he sat up and looked around for his keys while getting ready to leave. Itachi nods and said. Good luck Naruto. Naruto nods as he saw Itachi leaves. He slips the kunai back in his weapon pouch along with wiping the blood off his finger that was over a seal where he held it, waiting to activate the seal if need be to stop and kill Itachi. Naruto sighed and said. What a day. While Naruto and Itachi was talking, Kurenai decided to look around the village since she had already taken a shower and changed. As she was walking, she noticed how everyone seemed tired and thought, wonder what happened to make everyone sleepy. As she rounded the corner, she saw something that made her sweat drop and want to roll on the floor laughing. There was a giant 10-foot-long baby rocker made out of sand rocking back and forward with the sun cover over it, with Gaara in it dressed in a little kitty night cloths with Temari and Kankuro next to him and a stuffed doll of Shukaku in Gaara arms. She couldn't take it and burst out laughing, and all three sand sibs smirked as they pretended to be asleep while everyone else was trying to be as careful as possible not to upset them. When Kurenai burst out laughing, they looked at her and Temari said, Okay, you two go and do the west side of the village. I want to talk with her. Gaara said. Remind me to thank Naruto Ajian for teaching me the art of pranking. As both him and Kankuro disappeared in a swirl of sand. Kurenai finally, after a few moments, caught her breath as an 11-year-old Temari walked over to her. When Temari was close enough, she said, I am Temari and you're Kurenai, right? As she held out her hand. Kurenai shook the hand and said, Yes. How did you know? Temari said. Mrs. Namikaze told me. making Kurenai go wide-eyed a moment, and Temari said, "Follow me, we have something to discuss," as she walked away. Kurenai followed, and soon they made it to the Sabaku estate, and the guard said, "I am sorry Temari-sama, but foreign ninja are not allowed inside." Temari said, "Do I need to have Gara come and let her in?" The guard paled and said, "I don't see anyone," as he looked the other way. Temari said, "Good," as she walked in with Kurenai following. They walked through several rooms till they came to Temari's room and walked in, and after they closed the door Temari locked it and did some hand signs before saying, "Silent sealing jutsu." And the room glowed, and she said, "So tell me, how much do you know?" Kurenai said, "I know Naruto from the future, where he was married to me but not me at the same time. He had a child and that everyone died." Temari sighed and said, "As you may or may not know, I was a go-between for Suna and Konoha. During my trips Naruto never knew it, but I learned about him and his wife, and I became a secret she hid from him in case something was ever bothering him. He could come to me or my brothers and talk if he couldn't talk to you. About a week before you were killed, a day after Arashi dispelled the genjutsu, I was about to leave for Suna Aegean when you asked me to come by. You feared for your safety, and Naruto was away on an extended mission, and you were afraid of what would happen with Arashi if you were to die, so you used what sealing knowledge you had from being married to Naruto along with the memory jutsu that you created to seal away all your memories into a scroll and gave it to me to give to Arashi in a few years should anything happen to you. You also asked me to look after Naruto and raise Arashi as my own son." Kurenai was stunned and asked, "Why would I ask you?" Temari said, "For that answer you must use the scroll and take your memories. If you have no feelings for Naruto at all, then walk away and make it clear to him you don't want to be in his life. Don't play him." As she looked straight into Kurenai's eyes. Kurenai narrowed her eyes and said, "What right do you have to tell me what I can and can't do?" Temari said, "Naruto is not some kind of plaything for anyone to just use. He is fragile, especially now, and I refuse to sit back idly and let someone who is too stupid to see what he is to be with him. Naruto is hurting himself to try and have you in his life, and I will kill anyone who hurts him." As she looked back at Kurenai. Kurenai got up to her feet and said, "Listen here, you bleach blonde bimbo. I will be damned if some skank tells me what I can and can't do in my life, and I sure as hell won't let you treat Naruto like some kind of child." Temari smirked and said, "Really? What you going to do?" Her answer was a punch to the face, and she ducked under the follow-up one and delivered an uppercut to Kurenai, who used the momentum to carry her into a leg sweep, and Temari jumped over it and brought her knee down where Kurenai had been a moment earlier before she rolled away. Kurenai, seeing her chance, charged to kick Temari, only for Temari to catch the kick and swing the leg away, grabbing Kurenai by the hair, slamming her back into the ground. Kurenai saw stars a moment and was about to move when she felt the tip of a kunai against her neck and saw Temari looking at her, and she said, "Now, you have a choice here. You can see what your future self knew and try to have a life with Naruto, or you can tell him you don't want to be a part of his life and let him find someone else. There will be no playing around with his emotions ever. Do I make myself clear?" Kurenai asked, "Why do you care?" Temari said, "That is something only your future self knew, and if you never take those memories, then you will never know. Now get out of here before the guards arrest you for breaking something, though it's all junk anyways." As she looked around at the small amount of damage they did to her room. Kurenai got up and grabbed the scroll and started toward the door, and Temari said, "Oh, one more thing," making Kurenai turn only to receive a right punch in the face. Kurenai asked, "What the hell was that for, bitch?" Temari said, "Now we're even," pointing to her swollen cheek. Kurenai left, and Temari sighed to herself and sat down, closing her eyes, and was about to take a nap when a voice inside her head said, "Feisty one, aren't you?" making her go wide-eyed as she looked around and asked, "Who's there?" The voice said, "Look at your arm." Temari looked at her arm and saw a small dragon on her arm about 3 inches long, and she thought, "What the hell?" The voice said, "That is me. I am inside your body now. My mother wanted you to have one of us since she approved of you." Temari asked, "What do you mean, and who are you?" The voice said, "My name is Scalia, and I am the daughter of Diavon. She approved of you and your goal and has agreed to help you, so she has given you a gift, namely me. I will be able to help you just as my mother is helping Naruto. Also, you don't have to speak out loud. I can hear your thoughts." Temari thought, "How did you get inside of me?" Scalia said, Remember when you shook hands with my mother? She sent an egg into you and I just hatched with all my mother's memories as well as being able to talk to her if I need to telepathically. You are not to tell Naruto about me until he finds his cousin though. Temari thought. So what exactly do you do? Scalia said. Well, at the same time Kurenai was leaving and the guard looked at her and asked, what happened? Kurenai said. Temari has a mean right hook. As she walked past him ignoring the shocked look he was giving her. As she was walking she felt her face swelling and saw a few people looking at her funny. She sighed to herself and jumped up on a roof and used the roofs to ignore the people. She soon made it back to her hotel room where she saw Itachi outside the joint hotel room she shared with her team though she had her own room and he asked, where were you and what happened? Kurenai said, I ran into a friend. Itachi nods and said, Naruto said hello by the way. Well come on in. I need to tell you all something. Kurenai ignored the remark about Naruto and walked into the room and Ebus asked, what happened to you? Kurenai said, a friend has a mean right hook but you should see the left I gave her. With a smirk. Itachi sighed and said, well I was told to inform you all about what happened in Konoha recently. A distant relative of my clan recently contacted my clan offering a deal. I don't know the exact details of the deal but what I can tell you is that for some reason my best friend tried to kill a clone of me but in truth it was someone else's clone. Who is currently classified but apparently it was part of the deal my relative proposed. The person name is Uchiha Madara. The same one who killed the Sandaime Hokage. Anyways for whatever reason he went mad and killed my father and the entire Uchiha council meaning my mother is current clan head and I will take over when I come of age. Now we are still continuing the exams but my informant wanted me to warn you about what happened in Konoha and also about a competitor you might face. Watch out for the Cloud team. I can't tell you why but please use caution around them. Kurenai asked. Was your contact Maelstrom? Itachi said. Yes. I know who he is now and he trusted me with the recent information as well as informing me of a few allies he has here in the village. As he rubs his neck looking at Kurenai making her realize he knows about her. Ebus asked. What's wrong with your neck? Itachi said. Security seal. I recently came into contact with a lot of S-rank secret information so this seal is a precaution in case I ever betrayed the secret I would instantly be killed. No big deal and I am actually thankful for being allowed to know since the information actually saved the rest of my clan. Now, you may want to get some ice for that ice since it's already turning black and try to stay out of trouble. That reminds me, have you given Naruto that package from Kakashi? Kurenai eeped and said, I forgot all about it. Thanks for reminding me Itachi-sensei. As she ran into her room and ran back a moment later with a scroll and asked, what room is he in? Itachi said. Down the hall, last door on the right. Kurenai nods and runs out the door and hears to where Itachi told her. After she was gone Ebus asked, so what time are the exams tomorrow? Itachi said. Sunrise. I would suggest resting since Suna is notorious for cruel exams. As he walked to the third bedroom where he would be sleeping. Kurenai soon found Naruto's room and was about to knock when the door opened and Naruto was standing there and said, Hi. Kurenai said. I got something for you. Naruto saw her eye and asked, is it the same thing someone gave you? Kurenai blushed a little and rubbed her face and said, no, this was just a little girl talk with me and an overexcited little girl. Actually this scroll here is from Kakashi. He asked me to give it to you. Naruto said. Thanks. As he took it. Naruto sets it down and asked, so what are you up to? Kurenai said. I was planning on going and getting some rest. A lot has happened lately and I need to prepare for the exams. Naruto nods and said, yeah, hey that reminds me. The S and SIBS are here from where I am from. I already fixed Gaara's seal so he's good to go. Kurenai looked at Naruto about to say something and then had to keep from laughing as a pair of fox ears appeared on his head made out of sand along with a tail of sand behind him. Unable to take it she screams, Kawi. As she goes to rub his new ears but they sadly fall apart and Kurenai now had her arms around Naruto in a half hug and Naruto looked at her trying to decide if he should or not and he starts to lean down to kiss her only for her to step back and said, I am not ready for that. I still don't know if I like you as more than a friend. Naruto sighs and said, you're right. I am sorry and I won't do it again. Please forgive me. As he steps back also. Kurenai smiles and said, I want to wish you luck in the exams. Naruto smiled and said, you too. Kurenai turned and left and Naruto sighed, closing his door and thought, I will order room service. As he goes to the bed to look at the hotel menu on the dresser. Kurenai walked back into her hotel room and Kotesu asked, did you give it to him? She nods and Ebus asked, what was it? Kurenai sweat drops and said, I don't know and don't care. As she marches off to her room, slamming the door behind her before locking it. Kotetsu looks at Ebus and said, shut up. Ebus goes to say something when Kotetsu said, not one word. Kurenai sighed as she laid down on her bed and looked at the scroll she got from Temari and thinks about what she wishes to do. Deciding she was tired of not knowing stuff, she opens the scroll and sees a seal in the middle of it. She barely touches it and suddenly she starts to see flashes of memories as she passes out. She appears in her mind and watches like a movie theater her entire life, and then she saw Temari and why she was chosen and said, I see. So that's why. I can't blame her. She watched the memories several times throughout the night, finally understanding how things happened, and promised herself that she would think long and hard about it. The next day Naruto got up and after taking a shower he decided to look at what Kakashi had sent him. He walked over and picked the scroll up before opening it, and seeing as it was just standard seals he unsealed it and got wide-eyed and said, Kakashi, remind me to buy you every Ika paradise that comes along. As he set the items on the bed and started to get ready for the day. A little while later Naruto was smiling to himself as he walked to the door of the Konoha team and knocked. He waited a moment and knocked Aegean. He waited and was about to leave when the door opened and Itachi opened the door and gasped, and Naruto said, in case your team did not know, we all are supposed to meet in front of the Cage's tower in about 30 minutes. Itachi, after recovering his composure, asked, is the Hokage trying to get you killed or married? Naruto looked at his outfit and said, this was all courtesy of Kakashi, but I think it suits me. Itachi said, indeed. I will inform my team, and please try not to end your life today by getting engaged or killed. Naruto smiled and said, no promises. As he turned and walked away. Ebus, who was at the table eating with his team, asked, who was that Itachi-sensei? Itachi said, a living god. As he sat back down eating with a smirk on his face as he looked at the confused genins. Naruto, having exited the hotel via the roof, quickly made his way to the tower and hid under a rain gutter to look at the other competition that had already arrived. He saw a team from the Hidden Star Village along with 2 teams from the Hidden Rain, 6 teams from Suna, 1 team from Cloud and 2 teams from Iwa. Naruto smirked and thought, okay, every team but me has 3 people, so that means we have 37 people counting Konoha plus me. Now let's wait for them so I can make my grand entrance. He did not have to wait long as he saw Team 4 walk in and stand off by themselves, and he was about to move when he heard a voice above him on the actual roof say, good luck, brother. Making Naruto look and see the SNSIBS, and he saw Temari had drool out of her mouth, and Naruto said, you're drooling, Temari. Making the girl turn bright red. Naruto smirked and deciding to make a grand entrance launched himself off of the gutter, springing off the wall to make it where he flew over the top of the group, and then he did 3 hand seals before he righted himself up and dropped like a 50-ton anvil right in the middle of all the teams, making a huge dust cloud that covered him as well as a 30-foot crater, causing most teams to fall. Naruto then cancelled the mass weight seal jutsu he just used to fall fast and used his natural wind affinity to blow all the dust away from himself, making it where when everyone could see him he looked like he was a god among mortals as the wind blew his white cloak that was on his back, even though its sleeves had been torn off and the back of it having been edited a little before he left his room said, the Dragon Maelstrom. As it had flames across the bottom. Underneath it was a black tight t-shirt that left nothing to the imagination as everyone saw exactly how ripped he was, but the kanji on the shirt raised a few eyebrows as it said the Reborn Flash. His pants were also white and had the same flames on the bottom of them, and his shoes were not ninja sandals but combat boots with steel toes spikes on the end. His pants had built-in holsters on each leg and he had a vest loaded with scrolls. On his side was the Kakashi father's legendary chakra fang. Naruto had used his unique henge to make himself taller, but only those who knew him knew that it was not his real look, but you could never tell. Everyone also could see the dragon tattoo on his arm with its head ending about his wrist. The Anbu tattoo he had was hidden thanks to a jutsu used when creating it for covert mission, making it invisible until the user made it show Aegean. He had a red pair of sunglasses on and he had his whirlpool headband on his arm. Kurenai looked at him and was also beginning to drool, and Ebus said, "He's trying to be a show-off." Getting a punch in the arm from Kurenai, who looked back at Naruto with a little lust in her eyes even though she did have a black eye still. She looked around and saw Temari and nods and mouthed, "Me and you talk later." Temari only nods and looks back at Naruto. Gaara smirked and said, "If you are not dead by the end of the day you are going to have tough competition for your affection, brother," as he smirked to himself. The cage, startled by what sounded to be a bomb blast outside his building, ran out to the balcony to look at the dust cloud rising from the center of the competitors and was about to say something when he saw the wind move purposely by someone using it, and he thought, wind manipulation at that level is not genin. Even some Junin have trouble with that good of control, as he took in Naruto appearance. Naruto said, "So, how many of you are ready to be a part of history?" And Iwa Nin asked, "What's with the getup? Trying to big all big and bad by dressing as that idiot the Yellow Flash?" Naruto looked bored and said, "Tell me, do you know what the Yellow Flash's real name was?" A Junin of Iwa said, "I do." "Why?" Naruto said, "Allow me to introduce myself. I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze." Making the Junin's eyes go wide as he backed up a step and then said, "That's a good bluff, kid, but everyone knows the Yondaime never had any children." Naruto smirked and said, "Perhaps he did, perhaps he didn't. Perhaps I am who I say I am, and by the end of this exams there will be a new SS rank entry into the bingo books. Only time will tell, but you really should get a photograph of the Yellow Flash and add whiskers to his face. You might learn something." As he looked bored and looked back at the other competitors and said, "So let's see, 6 rock heads, 3 lightning cats, 3 tree huggers, 18 fan users, 6 needle heads and 1 whirlpool. Seems like I should have some fun." The team from Cloud got wide-eyed when he called them cats and wondered if he knew. The cage said, "Settle down everyone. Now that everyone is here, it is time for the Chunin exams to begin."